been a crazy week, like a real crazy week.
All right, well, Montreal, let's get into the show, and we'll get there. We'll get there. We're excited. We're excited. We're excited. Montreal. So you were gone last week. I did the show by myself. Did you listen to it?
No, I didn't. I didn't get a chance to.
Oh, no,
I
shit.
completely unplugged. I
No,
completely
it's okay.
unplugged. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, how was your time away?
We were in the mountains, man. Colorado is a beautiful state.
Was it
Uh,
was it chill,
in both ways, yes.
physically and mentally?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Should have put some pictures in the group chat, but I forgot to. But yeah, it was a real chill place. We went to this place called Guardians of the Gods.
Mm,
Gardens of the Gods. I keep saying Guardians. It's Gardens of the Gods. It's pretty much like a hiking area where like they got a whole bunch of rocky cliffs and huge
mm,
rock formations and stuff like that. And that shit
mhm.
is drop dead gorgeous. Like
Yeah.
nothing can compare to like even when you're driving and you see the mountains in the background, nothing can compare to that, man. That shit is crazy. I don't see how people live out there every day. Well, I can't see how people live out there every day because like this the scenery and the mountains in the background, like you see the snow on top of
Yeah.
the peaks and everything, especially like in the sunset or in the morning time. It's just like it's crazy, man. Like that state is very beautiful. Like
Yeah, well, hence why it's so expensive to live in.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I honestly though, dude, like it's a destination for me later in my life, maybe. Um,
Yeah,
because yeah, I'm with you. I love the mountain topography, just that geography in general. Like I think it's so gorgeous. Like,
yeah.
um, I don't know. There's just something in this modern era we live in, it's like really easy to just like live your life and forget about like we live on a beautiful planet, you know? Um and
That's
like
exactly what I was thinking when I was
yeah.
like walk and saw the mountains and stuff. I was like, yo,
Mhm.
this planet is fucking gorgeous if we can let it be.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, but we
yeah.
don't pay attention to it. We like take it for granted.
Yeah.
It's just a
Well, I was
part of
thinking
your
about
life.
America in general. Like, I was just like,
Mhm.
you had to go to another country to get this type of site. This is like in America. Like, you can just go to
Of
Colorado, probably
course,
the
dude. There's
Appalachian
so many
Mountains or something
beautiful
like that.
places. Yeah, man. Oh
Like,
yeah.
it was crazy. So
Yeah.
like my next goal is to go to like Yellowstone next year and see all that before.
Bro,
Uh,
go to Alaska. Oh my fucking god.
is
Like,
it really beautiful out there?
dude, oh my god. I think I've told the story in the pod, but yeah, my wife
Yeah.
and I, our honeymoon was an Alaska cruise,
Hmm.
specifically out of Vancouver, and dude, you need to be in a window. You need to be on a an exterior room with a balcony facing the coast, and you are just getting beautiful views the entire trip up the coast. And it was breathtaking. Like we would just sit on the balcony for an hour or two, like every day, even more than that some days, just kind of watching it go by,
Yeah.
enjoying the scenery, enjoying the sounds, like, it's very peaceful. And yeah, it and then you get to see the glaciers and stuff too, which is cool. Really cool actually. But it's yeah, I just in general, if you're looking for like a nature type cruise, like specifically a cruise, that the Alaska one I cannot recommend more. Like it is
Okay.
amazing. But yeah.
Yeah, we had a cabin in the mountains, so we were like actually in the mountains. We had a dirt
Yeah.
path that I had to get an SUV, and we had to drive the dirt path and everything like that. And we were in Colorado Springs. Yeah, every morning like we woke up and we just saw. Sometimes we would see like deer run by and shit like that. It was
Mm. Mhm.
it was it was pretty cool, man. I'm not gonna lie. I was just like, yeah, I would pay extra money to live out here. I would pay the price, like the California prices, to live out in Denver and shit like that, or
Mm.
live out in Colorado because I think it's worth it, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Then they have
Yeah.
like a little small town at the foot of the mountain. It was just like it's old Colorado Springs, and
Mm.
like behind the literally behind their houses was like mountains. It was just so fucking cool to see
Yep.
that shit. I don't know, it's just really crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know those little pictures that Windows shows you when you log in every day, like the different backgrounds it'll show you, and it'll show you like a place or something like that.
Yeah,
It's just I actually love that feature because it like it just lets you see places in the world that you don't even know about, or you like wouldn't
yeah,
even think about, and it's like, wow, dude, the world is gorgeous.
yeah,
There's just so many beautiful places out there, and obviously outside the US there's some, oh my god, like
yeah.
unbelievable
Unbelievable places.
geography
Yeah,
and just like places of nature, but even non-nature. There are some really beautiful settlements out there in the world too, like built into the side of a fucking cliffside and shit like
yeah,
that, or like things like there's places in Italy and in the Mediterranean that are just like they're unbelievable, um so yeah, I don't know, I'm totally with you, man. I need to get more in tune with that, I think, as I get older, like actually going and kind of doing a similar thing to what you did. Amanda and I've always talked about going on like a road trip around the US.
hmm
But maybe actually trying to go do something like that, like go to a cabin for a few days, a place like Colorado or something like that, or in the Northwest, or places
yeah.
like that. So
I can't not recommend it. Like, just find a
yeah.
place. Especially, that's my next goal is to either go up north to like like I said, Yellowstone Park, or go northwest to like outside of Seattle and
Hmm.
get a cabin
Yeah.
out there or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we also do want to go to Sicily as well. Go to Greece and all those places. Like,
I want to
I
do a
want to visit.
Mediterranean cruise. I want that so bad, dude. Yeah.
I actually want to stay in one of the hotels like off the coast of the
Mm-hmm.
Mediterranean.
Mm-hmm.
So
Gotcha.
yeah,
Well,
I don't know, man.
what did you guys actually do though? Like day to day, was it mostly hiking? Like, what were you guys doing?
Uh, yeah, mostly like we hiked once, and then we went down to Old Colorado Springs. We shopped there. It was like a little town, like one of those little
Okay.
towns you see in fucking Twilight or some shit like that, right? It was like that. It's a little fucking town, and we were shopping in there, and everybody was super fucking nice. Um, we went to actual Denver. It was okay down there as well. Um, but yeah, we were down out there for 3 days, and like two of
Okay.
the days we were just sitting in the cabin because it was just so beautiful and quiet. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Sounds nice. Reading a book or something. Yeah.
we were watching scary movies
Mm,
and stuff.
nice.
So
Cool, man. Well, glad you had fun. That sounds like a great time. All right. Well, let's get into the show proper. We got a lot to cover today, Montreal. We got some great stories to talk about. So, hey everybody, welcome. This is the Players Take, episode 256. I'm your host Justin DeSimone, joined as always by my co-host Montreal Rice. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter, or you at the Players Take on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right, Montreal, let's get into the show proper. So I do, before we get into what we're playing, I do want to do a correction real quick. I was talking about the Circana numbers last week. And I mentioned that since the first year, last year was the first year that we've had a non-COD game be number one on the charts. I actually misspoke. It was non-COD, non-Rockstar game that was number one on the charts in the US since
what was
2008. So,
what was the number
um,
one game?
well, it was Hogwarts Legacy last year. It's the first
Ah, okay.
time. That's the first game that's a non-COD, non-Rockstar game to be number one. So,
Wow.
which is crazy to think about. But yeah, it was a big game last year. So, all right, Montreal. So let's get into what we've been playing. Do you want to start this week, or shall I?
You can start. I haven't really been playing too much this week. Unfortunately, I
Yeah,
was on
I mean, I
vacation.
figured you
Yeah,
were out of town, right,
yeah,
and everything.
yeah.
So, okay, so I'll start with Civ 6, I guess. I'm still playing this on the Steam Deck little by little, but um, I'm loving the experience, but I will say the the warts of Civ have already started to come out again. It's like there's just something with this series that disconnected with me now. I don't know why. I'm because I'm starting to see these other games out there. I actually ran into one on Steam called The Old World that actually came out 2 years ago in 2022 actually, and it looks really interesting that I'm actually thinking about maybe picking up and trying out. It's kind of a different take on Civ, but it is Civ, and there's like, you have like a lineage, like you'll have kids, and you have to, you know, teach them things, or you can get them married, or they'll inherit the throne from you and stuff like that, and like there's like different mechanics that Civ has never really explored before. And it sounds really interesting. And we're gonna get into another one later with Microsoft with Ara History. I think it's called History Untold or something like that. That one looks really interesting as well. So I'm like playing Civ and I'm like seeing these other games and I'm like, I don't know. It just they Civ 7 better be special is all I'm going to say. Like they really need to change it up, I think, with the next game. And I think Civ 6 at first felt like they really were changing it up with the districts and stuff like that. But as I play the game more again, I come to remember why I stopped playing this game. Number one, the AI is terrible. It's still terrible. I don't understand how 7 or 8 years after release your AI is as bad as it was on day one. I don't get that. They're just like, I don't know. But number two is the district thing where you build your districts on tiles outside of your city center rather than being part of the city, which was a cool concept when it was first introduced, but I am finding it cumbersome and annoying the more I play this game, as I get deeper into this game, because it is so specific with certain things. Like the wonders and buildings you are able to build have very specific conditions that you need to meet in order to build those buildings, and I am finding it annoying how specific that is. Like the idea that your players would memorize all this shit or have this shit understood early in the game, that they would understand later in the game, that you need your theater district next to a river, which is also next to a mountain that has a plains next to it, so you can build this specific wonder here. It's like, who the fuck's gonna remember all that, dude, at the beginning of the game? Like, I certainly don't, and I don't really care to. And I find it like it has become a very cumbersome mechanic that I don't really love their implementation of ultimately in this game. And I don't know. I'm just like, I'm gonna finish the Civ game. I may switch back to Against the Storm though on the Steam Deck once I'm done with the Civ game, because I'm just like, I don't know. These things are popping up, and like I'm playing this game, and the AI has not declared war on me one time the entire game. And I know sometimes it's a meme, like how aggressive that AI can be, but I don't really have that strong of a military. I have maybe, I don't know, 10 units throughout my entire empire, which is not a lot in a game of Civ. And there's no AI. I'm one of the strongest players in the game militarily, though, with those 10 units. And I just don't understand that. And it's like it feels like the AI should be able to do more, like they're just not keeping up with me as the player. And it's like annoying, because I'm almost like the whole world could declare World War III, like could declare war on me at the same time. And like, I have enough money. I'm like a money whore in Civ. Like, I fucking just save crazy amounts of money. I'm literally at the point where I have 80,000 gold, and I could probably buy a military to fight off the entire planet at this point. Like, that's how much fucking money I have, in the game. And it's like, so I'm like completely inoculated from any threat from the AI players at this point. I'm just playing the game, whatever way I want to play it. And I'm just finding that like, it's kind of disappointing. It's like, do I need to play? I have to play on fucking deity to like get any kind of challenge, any semblance of challenge, where the AI gets like 3 free settlers to start the game, and they get 4 cities for free, right at the beginning of this. So fucking stupid, dude. Like, that is not fun difficulty, in my opinion. Like, I just don't understand why Firaxis can't do this right. And I'm at the point where it's like, I need to go explore other games, because there are other games out there, and they're trying to do this formula in a different way, and I need to start exploring that, I think, because I just don't think Firaxis is making a game that I find fulfilling, I guess is what I should say, which is weird, because I like Civ 6 conceptually, aesthetically, the sound is great,
Mm-hmm.
everything about the game from like a production standpoint is really good, but then, dude, when you get into the core of the design of it, and then the AI stuff, the AI ruins everything, like if the AI doesn't work, the game fucking sucks, and it's like that core conceit it's just so annoying that they don't get that, because that's why I
Yeah,
don't play the game. It's like I didn't have this problem in Civ 4. I didn't really even have it in Civ 5, and I don't even like Civ 5. And it's like, but I'm like, part of me wonders, like, should I go back and try to play those games, because I never felt this way about those games. Civ 5 to a lesser extent did have this problem, but it wasn't as bad in Civ 5 as it is in Civ 6. Like Civ 6's AI is just like not there.
yeah,
So I don't want to get on a huge rant about it, but yeah, that's just how I feel about that game right now. Other game I'm playing, we're still playing World of Warcraft. This is kind of the main game I've been playing. Like, we're still really into this right now. Montrell has joined us again, made another character. You got to level 9, I believe. You're very
yeah,
close to 10. You're extremely close to getting your pet, right?
yeah,
So we're almost there with the pet thing. Once you get the pet, you should be in good shape for the most part, as a hunter. We just been having a lot of issues with Brad, though, not playing with us, that have been very frustrating to deal with. But we're pushing through nonetheless and trying to have a good time with it. And I'm enjoying this a lot, though. I will say, when we played Classic originally, back when it came out in 2019, we fell off fast. I'd say within a month, like, we were all pretty much out of it. um, that is not happening here. I'm surprised at how much I'm enjoying this experience, and I think it literally all stems from the fact that this is a very active server. The server that we're on, in like World of Warcraft, and I think MMOs in general, rise and fall based on the population of the game. Like, if you don't have an active game or an active server, um it's not going to be a fun experience for your players, because there's no one to group with. Number one, the auction house is dead. Nobody's buying anything, and what's there is not enough to fulfill the needs of players, in terms of items that are available, things along those lines. So when you have all that, that can really bring the game down. And I think that's what happened when Classic originally launched, because the server we were on died very quickly. Like, it happened so fast. It was like overnight
it
almost.
it did. I
Um,
don't remember that.
it totally did. No, everybody we were playing with fucking transferred on us. Like, you don't remember that? Like,
Oh, I do
we
remember
literally had
that.
like 40 people playing with us from that we knew through work and other things, like friends of friends and acquaintances and stuff. And yeah, that number completely dwindled to like
Why did
3.
everybody transfer? I forgot why.
They hated the server. Like, they all whipped themselves into a frenzy that this server sucked, and then they all transferred to another server. And then they made it so that the server sucked by transferring out. So, like, it became a self-fulfilling prophecy type situation. And I got fucking pissed because I didn't want to transfer, and then we didn't
Yeah,
transfer, and we got stuck on the server, and everyone quit, and me and Jet were the only ones playing, and we were just like, fuck this, dude. Like, this isn't fun. So that's not going to happen here. Obviously, there's no transfer in this situation because we're playing on a private server. So it's a single server, and it is what it is. And what it is very active, which is good. I will say, though, it does seem to slant European. I've noticed it's hosted in Europe. And I think the player base is definitely slanted in that direction, because when I get on at night after work, trying to find groups for things has been surprisingly difficult leveling up. It takes an
okay.
hour sometimes or more to like actually find a full group to do something. And that's like the one caveat I guess I would say right now, which is why I really wish we would have the full group of 5 that we could put together. So we don't have to rely on the server as much, or even if we had 4 and we just needed a DPS. Like, getting a DPS is pretty easy, but it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of tanks and healers out there right now. So yeah, it's been very fun. Classic is really fun experience. The dungeons, dude. I just gotta, like, I keep raving about the dungeons in our Discord. Like, I love the dungeon design for vanilla. Like, I really do. And I'm really looking forward to doing the higher level stuff and getting into like some of the 60 dungeons. I just like Scholomance, Stratholme, Blackrock Depths, Blackrock Spire, those places. I
Yeah.
really love those instances. Like, they're so good. They're humongous, but they're so good. Like, they're just so fucking fun. So I'm really looking forward to jumping into that stuff. But where are you at with World of Warcraft right now, though?
I despite last week, or yeah, I think it was a week
Mm-hmm.
before last. I actually do enjoy the hardcore experience of it.
Yeah.
The game just forces me to slow down and kind of pay attention to the game. And usually in MMOs, like you're so used to steamrolling everything that's finally good to get back to like an MMO where I have to think about the moves I'm making. The world is genuinely dangerous, but also
Yeah.
interesting at the same time. And you feel accomplished when you finish all the missions and or all the quests in one area, and now you're in a new area. Um, it doesn't feel like a theme park or anything of that nature. I don't know. I'm really liking it, and it's hard now to actually play other MMOs when you
Yeah.
played that.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about going back to Final Fantasy 14, and I don't think I want to right now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I was and I do have a subscription for WoW retail, but once I played it, I quickly realized it's nothing but WoW, something but Final Fantasy 14, but WoW, Blizzard's
Yeah.
version of Final Fantasy 14.
Right.
Um, and yeah, I'm not really looking for that kind of experience. So I know Andy's like kind of pissed at me, but I tried. Like I got to like level 10, and I was just like,
Yeah.
I told him it wasn't a guarantee. I told him I try it. But yeah, it's not satisfying. And it's 100% because it is WoW. If it was another game, I probably would like it. But it is 100% because it's WoW, and it's not the WoW I knew. When I got one gold at level 10, I was just like, this is not it for me. Like that
Yeah.
and that sounds stupid. Um, but it's just like, yeah, this
Well,
is
it's just like the handout thing, though. Like you're just being handed like shit.
yeah,
You don't have to earn anything.
yeah. When I by the time I got done with the missions, I was at like 1 or 2 gold, and I was just like, yeah, I don't think this is it for me. And then what really kind of turned me off was like, as soon as I got to it's Orgrimmar, right? I don't know why I
Yeah.
keep mispronouncing it in my head, but Orgrimmar. As soon as I got to Orgrimmar, they instantly hit me with what you want your specialization to be, and I'm like, I haven't even had a chance to like settle down with my rogue class yet
Yeah.
and play it. Like
Yeah.
it's just too fast. And that sounds so crazy coming from like, we're in a fast paced world and instant gratification and everything like that. But the game is just way too fast.
Yeah.
I didn't have enough time to settle in. Like, and that's why I do like, even though I keep dying, right? I do like the hunter class, or like I like getting to know the hunter class because it's going to change drastically once I get my pet. But because I knew it
Mm.
so I just know certain things about it now, but then it's gonna be a new experience once I get my pet and I learn more things about it. And I had so much time to learn one aspect of the hunter. Now I'm gonna learn a new aspect of the hunter. And yeah, I didn't get that experience with like with a retail WoW and anything of that nature. I feel like the game is just really designed for you to follow a guide, um because I didn't know what to choose. It was like, oh, you can be an outlaw, or you can be like a shadow assassin, or like some kind of
Mm.
blood or poison assassin or something like that. And I'm just like, I don't know what the best thing is to do, and I kind of just want to do it my own thing. But I don't know, the game, I don't know, man. It's just weird. Even in Final Fantasy 14, they don't do that. You stay with your base class for a while before you even
Well, they
go to your
layer
next.
abilities slowly.
Yeah,
Kind of what they do. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah. That's a good point too. They layer their abilities really well, and yeah, if you want to be a paladin or something like that, you're a gladiator for like 40 levels, and that's still like maybe 20 hours of gameplay, like depending on what you're doing. So
Yeah.
you're still with your gladiator for a while, you're still with your rogue for a while, your pugilist for a while, until you get to their respective, other things. And then even if you want to do another class as well, which I think World of Warcraft should probably try to implement or something, maybe that would be better for them. And I think that's why I like Final Fantasy 14 more. Because I know Andy would be like, well, it's fast paced, just like Final Fantasy 14 or whatever. And I'm like, it is, but the way the classes and everything are set up. If I want to be like a paladin or something like that, for instance, it used to be, I don't know if it is now, but it used to be, you have to be a gladiator, and then you have to get like level 10 in mage. And then you can
Yeah.
become a paladin or something like
I
that.
think
I
they
think
did
they
away with
kind of
that.
yeah, I think they
I
streamlined
think
it
they did
now.
away with that, but I'm not sure. I mean,
I
as of Shadowbringers though and Endwalker, that was still there,
Okay.
what I remember. So
Yeah, and I love that aspect. I have to play another class to learn.
Yeah.
I have to learn 2 classes to play this class, and I thought that was just like really cool because I remember with the ninja, you had to learn the pugilist and not the
It's
theremin, the
Rogue and it was Rogue and Pugilist. Yeah.
yeah, rogue and pugilist, yeah. So I don't know. I played both classes and I loved them, and I'm like, oh, and this is what the ninja is. The ninja was like something, even
Combined.
though it had
Yeah. Kind of a
yeah,
combined version of the two. Yeah.
exactly. And then it came off as like a support DPS class once you really get into the ninja class. So it was like, I don't know, it was just really cool. And maybe I'll get that experience from like WoW retail, but as of right now, I'm not. I just I don't see it. I really hate the starting area too, by the way. It's really fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Uh I want to start if I'm a blood elf, I want to start in the blood elf area. And that's not the case anymore. You start
Everybody
where
starts
everyone
in the same zone. Yeah.
yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah,
So
that's not cool either. Well, yeah, so I think the hardcore thing though, going back to that comment real quick about, I think it's just a reminder that death in MMOs needs to have a penalty. And
yeah, yeah.
um the old penalty back in the EverQuest days was number one, you would lose experience, and number two, which you could de-level if you died enough in EverQuest, and then number two was the fact that the world was so large and there were no flight paths in EverQuest. If you needed to go somewhere, you had to walk. So if you died and you got teleported, I think you got teleported to your bind point in that game. If you died, like you would have to walk back to where you were, and that could be a very long journey in that game. So there was a very significant deterrent to death in that game. Whereas World of Warcraft, is like, whatever, you just ghost run or whatever. So that's what the hardcore is kind of bringing that element back, right? You obviously, if you die, you lose your character, which sucks total fucking dick. And I think that's the thing with WoW though, is I think people, this is why I like the hardcore idea in World of Warcraft, because it is not like, I know we look at it like it's an easy game, and I mean it is an easy game, even from back then. But like there are plenty of dangerous environments, there are dangerous quests, there are dangerous situations you can get yourself into out in the world in World of Warcraft, where death is right around the corner. Like that is a very consistent risk in the game, but with the way the game plays normally, it's not a problem because you just run back to your corpse and you're fine, generally speaking. But on hardcore, dude, like, there's shit I was doing on my hunter the other day because my hunter's not hardcore. I was doing a couple elite quests by myself and I was able to do them solo ultimately, but I did die a couple times trying to do them and I was able to, get it done. But on hardcore, I wouldn't have even attempted that shit. Are you kidding me? Hell no, absolutely not. Like I was in the middle of a giant horde, camp, and I was in a fort where there were enemies everywhere, patrols and shit. Like, dude, I was threading the needle to get that quest done, and on hardcore, if I was trying to do that shit, hell no, absolutely not. You wouldn't put yourself in that situation. So you just kind of play the game differently, I guess. I think that's the difference for me, is I like both forms. I like the hardcore and I like the non-hardcore. I kind of like both because, like I just said, I wouldn't have done what I did on my hunter on as a hardcore character. I like the fact that I can do that. Like I'm kind of limit testing myself,
Yeah,
in the leveling experience, which you're not going to do as much as a hardcore. So I do enjoy that aspect of WoW's leveling as well. That there are things you can do that are really difficult, but you can do them by yourself if you're good enough. And
exactly.
I, I
Yep.
I just I just really like that aspect of the game. Like there's kind of a wide range of difficulty within the leveling curve. So I enjoy that as well. And but I've been having fun with the leveling with the group, with Jet and Brian. And I think when you catch us, if you do catch us, which by the way, you and Brad are gonna have a significant amount of time to catch up. Because Brian's probably going to be gone for the entire month of February, so don't feel like you're behind by very very much. So you guys will have time to catch up for sure. If we can get the full group going though, I think it's going to be super fucking fun. Leveling up and doing dungeons and stuff. Um, so yeah. But outside of that, did add a new game to the list. I did buy last week Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. I just decided to pick this up and give it a shot. And I probably played maybe, I don't know, 6 hours so far. of this game. And according to PlayStation, the trophy tracking thing on PlayStation that kind of gives you a progress tracker of how far are in the game. It says I'm 40% of the way through the game already,
Oh
which
shit.
I find interesting. Yeah, the game isn't super long. From what I know, it's like 20 hours. I think is what people are saying. Obviously, full completing it'll probably be a little bit longer than that, but um, yeah, this game, dude, this game, it's getting a lot of buzz out there right now, and I think it's very fully deserved. I am super into this game. I love this. I love this game. Like, this is awesome. I don't get into Metroidvanias very much anymore. It's just not a genre that resonates with me very much. However,
Hmm.
this game is kind of exactly what I want out of a Metroidvania. It is still a Metroidvania. There's unlocking abilities and, backtracking and all the things you would know, areas that you can't get to until you get a certain ability, like, that kind of design and everything. That's all there. However, the game has combat is actually pretty deep. There's a lot to it, and I'm really enjoying that aspect of the game right now. There's just a lot of ways to string combos together, kind of do aerial juggling and juggling enemies and stuff like that. And when you get good at that, I think it's going to be very satisfying. I'm not quite there yet. You don't have a ton unlocked at the beginning of the game, but you do have access to a lot more than you would think. I actually recommend if people check this out, go through the training. You get access to a few hours into the game. Go through all those training things because they will give you tips that you probably won't discover on your own. Like things you can do that you have access to that are not inherently obvious, just trying to mess around with the controls.
Okay.
So I would highly recommend that for sure to kind of give you some access to some moves that help you juggle a little bit more, maybe some combos that you wouldn't even know were there. So that's cool. But yeah, the combat in general, like very it's interesting. It's very precise. However, the character you're playing as, Sargon, is like very aggressive as a fighter. His fighting style is super aggro. He's dual wielding two sabers, and he when you attack on the ground, he moves forward to attack. Like he is, and he moves forward a lot, dude. Like I'm saying, he's like jumping forward to attack when you do your attack. So, he is not a character like the character design in this game and the combat design is not defensive in nature. It is very offensive. Like
Okay.
it is intended for you to be aggressive, very consistently. Like obviously you have access to a dodge, and the dodge does have iframes, and you can use that to dodge abilities and stuff like that. But you also have a parry, which is actually more effective than the dodge in most situations. If you time it right, you'll parry and then kind of knock the enemy back, giving you a window to attack, and then knock them down and juggle them and all that. But um, that isn't really the intent. The intent is kind of you parry and then you like take advantage of that situation, and the enemy never hits you again. Like that's kind of the idea of combat. If you start getting hit by enemies a lot, especially if you're playing on higher difficulties, which I did up it to hard. If you're playing on higher difficulties, like you don't have a lot of window for error. Like you can take a couple hits early in the game and before you die. And it's there are enough enemies on screen at times where that it can be difficult to dodge everything. So you kind of have to be very quick and aggressive, where you take enemies out quickly, and then you're down to one or two, and you can kind of maneuver those two maybe. But bosses, I will say, so far the bosses are interesting. I do think a lot of the combat loses its flair in the boss battles. It's very much straight because you can't juggle the bosses generally.
Yeah.
So you're not able to kind of get those huge combo chains going on as much on them. So meaning that it's more of a block, dodge, hit a few times, back off, block, dodge, repeat, rinse and repeat kind of thing. Which is fine. There's nothing really wrong with that gameplay. It's just kind of counter to the way the game is trying to make you play out in the world when you're just fighting regular enemies, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So but I don't know, I like it a lot. The story is kind of silly and out there. It's nothing really to write home about, but it is funny. Like I am enjoying it so far. It's just like, there's just some predictability to it. And some of the characters, like, take themselves super seriously, which is funny. But But yeah, no, I love the control. I will say one thing I do want to call out too. Um, Prince of Persia has always been a game about platforming, a series
Oh
about
God.
platforming, and they didn't shy away from that with this game. There
Okay,
are some
good.
obscene. So I haven't even gotten that deep in the game yet, but there have been a couple really obscene platforming challenges that they're hard, where you have to go through this insane gauntlet where you have to like jump in the air, side dash in the air, hit the wall, slide down the wall, jump off the wall, and then like fall and then side jump at the bottom, before you hit the bottom because everything spikes. Like all the walls are spikes, the floor is spikes. There's no platforms. Like you're having to like maneuver through all this with all your abilities and like use everything to your absolute maximum. And I will say, I fucking love that shit. Like I think it's really cool. Like it's a very unique like Prince of Persia thing. And I think they've definitely hit the nail with that here. And I appreciate that they kept true to that in this game. And I don't know if that kind of thing is necessarily going to be to everybody's taste, but I will say so far in the main story path, there hasn't been much of that there. It's mostly in kind of side paths and like rooms you can go in to get you like a chest or something. So you might not run into those gauntlets as much if you're just kind of going through the golden path, but it is there if you want to find it. Um, so yeah, it's fun stuff. But yeah, definitely recommend the game. Montreal, do you still plan on checking this one out?
Yep, I am buying it first thing tomorrow. I'm gonna buy it physical, so that's why I'm waiting.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha,
yeah, I'm gonna
gotcha.
try to get as many physical games as I can because, as you'll see later on, guys, we have some
I bought
sad
it.
news.
I bought it digitally, Montreal. I'm joining the dark side. I'm joining the dark side. I bought my last like 3 games digitally. I'm a
Well,
bad person.
specifically for Ubisoft, I'm buying physical because I want to prove a point to like the guy who said, you will be happy. You gotta convince gamers to, not own their games or some shit like that. So
Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, we never really talked about that, did we? Yeah.
no,
Look, he was just taught. He was asked a question and he was answering the question. I don't think he was specifically nefariously twirling his mustache and being like, "I don't want people to own their games." Like I don't think it was that. But
yeah,
yeah,
but they're,
oh,
you know, just don't put your foot in your mouth, and he did. Like, just
yeah,
let
he
your
did.
game be great.
He definitely did. But they have a great game on their hands here. We're not huge fans of Ubisoft on this show, but I'm gonna give them props for this one.
Yeah,
They hit it with this one for sure.
yeah. So
Okay,
I mean, I haven't
that's
really
all
been
I'm
playing too
playing. What about
much.
you?
I haven't really been playing too much. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been playing the Devil May Cry Switch version. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. I do like the style switching.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I only played it for the style switching. It was like $10 on sale on the Switch, so I bought it. And I only bought it for style switching because I already have Devil May Cry 3 on PC and I have it on Xbox. Uh, and I should have just downloaded the mod, but I wanted to see what Capcom's take on it was, because there isn't style switching in Devil May Cry 3 at all. Originally, there wasn't style switching. You had to pick a style and then two weapons, but in this game you can have all your weapons on you and all the styles on you at the same time, and
Mm-hmm.
you can switch in between them. So yeah, it's kind of fun. And unfortunately, I haven't touched anything else this week. I got back from work and I've been super busy. I touched WoW and I played like one game of League or whatever the case may be. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've been in class and I've been, going to work. So that's pretty much
Mm-hmm.
what I've been doing this week, unfortunately.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that's okay. I'm sure you'll play stuff this week. But
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try.
let's move into the news. We got a lot of news this week. Very Microsoft centric, but we also have some other big stories not Microsoft related. So let's get into Microsoft and Xbox stuff first. We'll start with the good side. So they had I mentioned this last week. They had a developer direct last week. It was about 48 minutes where they showed off 5 games, and they went very deep on those 5 games. This is a different format from anything. I mean, I think they've done this the last couple of years, actually, early in the year, but I hadn't watched those as deeply as I watched
I
this one.
they I don't think they've done it. to the degree that they've done this. Like this is the first time I've ever seen. For me, this is the first time I've ever seen something like this from them.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So
Well, yeah, because there was no executive at the beginning like Phil Spencer, like, here at Xbox, we like games. None of that shit.
yeah.
This time it was literally just developers talking about their games and showing the games off. Well, so let me start there though. Like, what did you think? Did you like the format they went here with here?
Yeah, I think a lot of companies should actually do this. I mean, I think
Hmm.
Nintendo kind of does this version, their version of this, which is the
Yeah,
Nintendo Direct, obviously, but they go in depth with like their mainline games. Um, State of Play kind of does it, but they usually dedicate the entire State of Play to one game, not
yeah,
five games.
yeah,
I think this is really cool to have like your developers and actually have your developers talk about it, not just like a voiceover, or, whatever
yeah.
the case may be.
Yeah. But yeah, you get to see their faces and the way they're talking about the game and just like, their excitement for it. And yeah, I know. I love the format. I thought it was really well presented. I love hearing the developers talk and just getting to see their studio too and like where they're set up and like what their office looks like. And there was the one with the Oxide team where the the guy came in and got a drink out of a fridge behind the CEO or the president, and he was like, "Yeah, this game is really cool. Hi, Dan," or whatever. That was a funny moment. Like I like that. So I think it was just cool to kind of see them in this context too. But a lot of exciting news though. I think this was a really strong showing for Xbox overall. But I guess let's get into the games and then we can kind of talk about that piece of it. So there were 5 games shown, like we said, and they were big ones we've been waiting for. We've been complaining on the show. Where the fuck are these games? When are they coming out? And Avowed was the first one, and it's got a fall 2024 release window. And they showed the game extensively, combat and all, questing and things like that as well. And Montreal, what did you think of what you saw from Avowed?
uh, Not my type of game, but I feel like people who've been thirsting for a Skyrim esque type game or Elder Scrolls type game, they would probably like this game a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, it's not really my type of game, but I'm not going to sit here and say it looks trash. It looks really good actually. Um,
I have seen some people though express disappointment. I think with the way it looks and like gameplay wise, and looks wise, aesthetically, which
I,
I didn't quite see that here. I think the game does look pretty strong to me.
I see what people were saying with the gameplay. I think I still think Western developers are still stuck 10 years ago as far as RPGs, Western
Yeah,
RPGs in the combat. The only and uh this is actually kind of crazy that I'm saying this. I think the only company that was pushing combat forward as far as Western developers and RPGs, Western RPG developers, was BioWare. They were the
okay,
only ones trying to push the medium forward as far as
hmm,
like we want our games to be engaging as well
yeah,
as good storytelling. I mean, because Dragon Age, they tried different things with the combat, and Mass Effect, they tried different things with the combat, and like they had Jade Empire and all these other and some other games
mm,
too, where they
hmm,
they tried other stuff but it was still an RPG,
yeah,
Um, and whereas everyone else is kind of staying standard with like, ooh, we're gonna be like a first person shooter. Ooh, we're gonna be like the Elder Scrolls type, you know, first person RPG type deal. And I think people are actually over that, and I actually agree with them. I think developers need to move forward. Like they need to try something different. Which is, I think, why a lot of people strung over to or cling to Baldur's Gate 3 so much. Um, it's not necessarily new gameplay, but it's just so different from what
God,
we had over the last 12, 20 years.
don't get
You know
me
what I'm saying?
started on a rant, Montreal.
You know,
Those
uh,
games are there. There's dozens and
oh
dozens and
yeah,
dozens of them. Like
I know, I
y'all
know,
just
but
weren't looking for them. Fucking
exactly,
Christ.
exa-
Like,
exactly, and yeah, and I think people just want like they want more evolution from the combat. Like it doesn't have to be fucking Devil May Cry or anything like that, but like give us something where like, it's just like a good action game as well as an
Yeah,
RPG game.
yeah.
Like there's no
No,
excuse for the way. I mean, okay, Avowed looks good, right? But like there's no excuse for like the way it like kind of looks in the same spirit.
no,
Like I can't
yeah,
give it,
yeah,
I can't just say there's no reason why it should look like Skyrim 6.5 or 5.5 in my
yeah,
opinion, you know.
yeah. Well, I think the aesthetic is one thing. I don't really like the way the game looks. Like I think it looks too goofy, honestly.
Yeah, it's too
Like
stylish
yeah, it's
little
too
bit.
stylish. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that was going to be my comments in this game is that I don't think the game looks bad. I have a feeling it's probably going to be pretty good. It's just that I think Obsidian at this point, they're making games that I don't care about, like they're just not making
Yeah,
games I'm
yeah,
interested in. And I'm like,
yeah,
it makes me sad because they're a great developer. This is like the whole thing about, like taking control from the Microsoft standpoint and like kind of shepherding the teams a little bit. Like they make like grounded, penitent, or pentiment rather in this game, and then outer worlds, yeah, outer
Outer
worlds.
Worlds.
And those are all very different games. Outer Worlds and Avowed probably are the closest together. But yeah, outside of weirdly enough, Pentiment is probably the one that I'm the most interested in of the four.
Yeah.
And I'm just like I feel like Obsidian can do more, and I think that I think Baldur's Gate 3 did reveal something about CRPGs and the viability of CRPGs. And I do hope that Microsoft allows Obsidian to explore that space again because they are a very good CRPG developer,
Mhm.
historically and even recently with Pillars of Eternity and Pillars of Eternity 2. They were kind of the ones that brought the genre back, honestly, like back into the public eye a little bit. And Yeah, so I'd like to see that a little bit more from them. I'm kind of sick of them being stuck in this first person space, you know. I feel like they're almost chasing like Fallout New Vegas constantly, and I'm like, I don't want to play that game from you guys, Like this is just not what I want from you, But
Well, even with Fallout New Vegas, right? I think a lot of the reason a lot of people like that, especially the Fallout community, is because they pushed that genre forward or they pushed the
yeah,
combat forward. There were
yeah,
aim down sights and other things that Fallout 3 didn't have that New Vegas has. Um, and then I'll even say to Bethesda's credit, they pushed the combat even further in Fallout 4. It's just it stopped at Fallout 4 when Starfield came out. Starfield to me seems like a mod for Fallout 4, in my opinion,
yeah,
a bad mod.
yeah,
Um, and I feel like you said as well, um, Obsidian, they're still chasing the high of New Vegas, like you said. I just think both Bethesda and Obsidian are still stuck in 2008 RPGs, Western RPGs, and it's like
yeah,
we have progressed past that now.
yeah,
Like for instance, this game reminds me of Immortals of Avium or Avium,
yeah, yeah,
and that game's combat is really cool. So it's like, why couldn't I get that with the RPG mechanics that you guys are doing for Avowed? You see what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like
No, I get
when
you.
when I'm looking at the Avowed, like the cinematic trailer, right? That uh doesn't speak to what I'm looking at when I'm looking at the developer diaries from today of Avowed now. And
Mm,
it's like I wanted like there's no reason why we can't do that now. Like our consoles can handle that, our computers can handle that type of shit. And they're still developing like in my opinion, they're still developing like we're on the Xbox 360 and PS3. And that's just
yeah,
not
but is it a
that's not it anymore.
limitation? It's a limitation. Is it a limitation of the talent or the leadership at a certain point? Like these two
I
studios, like Bethesda and Obsidian, are they held back by the people that work there? You know?
Yes, I think it may be time to bring in some new blood. I don't think you should get rid of the older talent. I think you need new blood in there to kind of revigorate the older talent, if that makes any sense. Um, just get fresh ideas in there. And I think that's what kind of made BioWare so cool, is because you can tell with each
Yeah,
game they wanted to try and push the combat
Absolutely.
forward.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people criticized them about that, but it's like they saw a vision and they wanted that vision to be upheld. Even though I love
Yeah.
Dragon Age Origins because it's almost like a pseudo CRPG.
Well, it is a
Um,
CRPG.
yeah, it's a CRPG,
I played it
and
like that. You don't have to play it. You can play it in third person, but I played it as a top-down
I
isometric
played
game.
I played as a top down as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you can play it as an adventure game, and I think they and then obviously Dragon Age 2 I really didn't like at all. But Dragon Age Inquisition, I think they did a good job. A lot of people hated that game, but I think they did a good job at trying to combine action and CRPG in that game because there are certain points, especially playing on the harder difficulties, you have to pause the game and like kind of plan out your route or plan out what you want to do and everything of that nature. And you can pause the game and actually play it like that, or you can play like a straight action game. And then obviously Mass Effect, I feel like they did a good job with that game. Just doing all the combinations, the weapon combinations, and then I was about to say spell combinations, but they weren't spells. They're like elemental combinations you can do, especially in
Mm.
Mass Effect
Mhm.
3 and
Yeah.
everything of that nature. And then even as much as I don't like the game, even Andromeda pushed the genre forward as far as the combat as well, and it was still an RPG at the same time. Never did I feel like I was playing like a straight action game with all those games. It
Mhm.
was still an RPG at its core. Um, and I feel like that may be a thing with it too. Maybe developers are too scared. They feel like they have to stay in this genre of combat because that's what we think RPGs are. Bad combat with really good world building and
That's
stats.
what I mean about the people who work there, like, but that, like, they literally may think that, that that's the genre and that's what those are the bounds we need to exist within if we're going to make a Western RPG, you
Yeah.
know? And that's not true. Like you said, BioWare is a great example because, yeah, dude, like, just the progress, just forget about the rest of their games, just Mass Effect, right? The
Mhm.
progression in gameplay between 1, 2, and 3 is insane. You know, the differences in those games are nuts, and just in terms of the way you control your character and the movement and the actual just shooting mechanics of the game, like the
But
progression there is extremely high.
it, and the classes are extremely different, and the way
Yeah,
you build your
yeah,
character is extremely different. And
hmm
I'll even go a step further. I'll say if it wasn't like a shit release, um Anthem.
Andromeda, or
Anthem
yeah,
was
Anthem too. Yeah,
we both played Anthem and we are like, we definitely we see the potential in this game.
yeah,
Like it was a really cool game what they had, the
yeah,
ideas they had that they
yeah.
were showing. And I think if that game had been like handled really well, it could have been one of the biggest games of the fucking, generation, to be honest with you. Um yeah, I do think companies saw what BioWare did, and now they're just scared to actually innovate as far as combat, and that's
That
to me
wasn't
is
the
kind of
reason they failed. That's what's so weird, dude. That's not the
yeah,
reason they failed. Like, it has nothing to do with their gameplay. Like Andromeda, we both have played that game and both have said that that was like peak Mass Effect gameplay.
yeah, exactly. It is peak Mass
But
Effect gameplay. Yeah,
yeah, but the it was the rest of the game that sucked. It's like I don't know. People
yeah.
take the wrong things out of these things
I think
sometimes.
people, yeah, I think people think can't. I don't think they can have both. I think, and yeah, I just don't think they can have both. I think Western developers don't think they can have both. Whereas we look at games like Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy 16, um,
Xenoblade.
well, Xenoblade, where they push the combat forward, and it's still like an actiony type combat, and it's still very very heavy RPG. Well, I say kind of scratch Final Fantasy 16, but like
Mhm.
Final Fantasy 7 remake for sure, and I mean Final Fantasy 13, and I'll even say 15, even though I didn't like the fucking game. It was still an RPG in a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I don't know. Um, like that's why the Eastern markets are progressing as far as they are because they aren't really afraid to I'll even say Persona, right? It's still turn based, but the way they do the turn based and flip the genre on its head as far as like making everything else around it super high in octane
Yeah.
it doesn't even feel like a turn-based combat game anymore. It feels like
Yeah.
something totally new, but it's just turn-based gameplay, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, fall 2024 for that one. We'll see if it even. I mean, I don't know. That's I guess the other question. Do you think it's going to hit that window?
Yeah, it should hit that window.
Okay.
I don't think they can afford to not hit that window anymore.
I kind of agree.
Catch my
I think
drift.
they have to get they have to get these fucking games out. All right, the
Yeah.
next one they talked about though was Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, which is coming on May 21st, 2024. And the interesting thing about this one is they openly talked about that this game is going to be short, a shorter game. And I'm by shorter, I'm thinking like they said it was around the same length as the first game. And the
Yikes.
second thing is
Okay.
that it's going to be $50, digital only, no physical release for this game. So all those things are interesting context for what the game is and what they showed. Um, so Montreal, what do you think about what they showed with this one, Hellblade 2?
I'm not gonna lie. It looks really good as far as graphics wise, but I'm disappointed that they didn't push the game forward as far as like combat or
They're making the order 1886.
yes.
That's what I think.
Yes.
That's kind of what I got. That's what I
The
think.
original game had limited combat like this, and it had more puzzles, and it
Yeah.
was more so about I forgot her name, but like her journey and dealing with like certain aspects of like schizophrenia and all other shit like that. Um, I First, I wanted the game to be longer. I understand why the first game was shorter because it was like more of a like this is our first game and it's kind of experimental. If it fails, it fails. If
Yeah.
it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But for the second game to be the same length and take 7 years or not 7 years, did it take
No, it is
7 years?
7 years. It's
Yeah.
2017. First game came out in
Uh,
2017. Yeah.
and to take 7 years to make, I'm kind of disappointed. Me
Yeah.
personally. I don't know how everybody else feels about it. I haven't really been checking up on it. I really don't fucking care to be honest with you. I'm disappointed. Um,
Yeah.
uh, I, I, I don't know what they've been doing. Like
I
I,
I
I
I'm
mean,
so puzzled by that. I really am
yeah.
so puzzled by that. Like I don't
And
understand.
the first game was only like 10 hours, so for the second game to only being like 10 hours is kind of wild to me. Maybe it's gonna be 15 hours. They say a little bit longer. Maybe it's gonna be 15 hours. Um, and I think I'm over exaggerating how long the first game was. I
You
think the
are, yeah. I've heard 6 to 8 hours was
yeah.
like the first game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I beat it in 10 hours because I was playing. I was
Uh,
just like doing other stuff. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, I'm disappointed, man. I thought they were really going to like up the ante with it, and because they got this budget behind, they got fucking Microsoft behind them, and
They put
I'm,
that in aesthetics. Like the things they focused on with the game when they were showing it
I
were the look and the feel and the sound. Like those
think
were
they
the
just got it
biggest
wrong.
things they those are the biggest things they were hitting on. And I like I'm actually like, to be honest with you, like what they were describing actually sounds really fucking cool, actually, like the 3D audio they were talking about, where they can kind of place the audio in different locations if you're wearing headphones, that kind of stuff like that. That sounds really fucking awesome. Like I actually think this game, like, atmospherically could be breaking some boundaries in that realm, but the rest of it, as a gameplay, and like like length isn't everything, right? I mean, we
Yeah,
talk
it's
about
not.
this
It's
on the
not.
show
It's
all the
not.
time, right? We games are bloated and we want shorter games. But I don't know if we're necessarily asking for this short, like under 10 hours. I don't know if I'm going that far. There is kind of a baseline you have to hit as a AAA game. Like
Well,
I feel like 10 to 15 hours, if they're hitting that length, then I think they're fine, but if
yeah,
it's under 10, like, and we're in the 6 to 8 hour range again, for a game that took you 7 years to make, and I just like, and Xbox has positioned this game like it's their Last of Us. I don't I don't see that necessarily, I guess.
yeah, same. I have a real issue with games. I love games that push the boundaries and doing interesting
Yeah.
stuff, like you said, the 3D audio, the different. I know they're gonna be doing crazy stuff with the screens and illusions on the screen and everything. Because the first game did that, and I really loved that for the first game, especially with the puzzles they were doing. Um, maybe that's what the game is. It's a puzzle game disguised as an action game.
Yeah.
Um,
Or it's more of a
and
horror game with puzzles, right?
yeah, yeah, it's more of a
Yeah.
horror game with a little bit of action and puzzles, and maybe that's the mindset I need to go into it as. But the problem is, not everybody's me or you. They're gonna go into it with the layman, the most common gamer, casual gamer, gonna go into it like, oh, this is like God of War, and I'm gonna have super cool combat. No, uh, not everybody's gonna be wearing headphones, so they're not gonna get that
Yeah.
experience. You
Yeah.
know,
That is a
um,
problem.
uh I just think it's a lot of stuff to be riding on that's not hitting. And I think you really need to hit down your gameplay loop first or improve it drastically from the first one. And unfortunately, what I didn't see is that improved. I didn't see the combat improve. I saw
Well, they just don't
everything
they
else.
didn't show it that much.
Yeah. And I think that's
It's
because that's the combat. I think
it
that
feels
is it.
deliberate. Yeah, it feels deliberate, dude. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Um and I don't know, man. 7 years, uh yikes. I mean, I don't know. I do want shorter games, shorter quality games. This is, but it's going to depend on where the quality is put into. If I get a very good cinematic experience out of this, I mean, that may be
Mhm.
okay. I just have to wait and see to play the game. But from what I was shown, I'm not exactly hyped about the game. I don't want to play a CGI trailer. I don't want to play the Order 1883 again, like or 1887. I'm sorry, again. So
Mhm.
yeah, even though I love
Okay.
that world, the Order, I think it was a really cool world.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was just they didn't make a game. Um yeah, no, I mostly kind of agree with you for the most part. I mean, I don't know. I'm not like I don't think this game's going to be bad. I have a
Oh
feeling
yeah, I don't think
I
it's
think
going
it's
to be
going to be
bad at all.
yeah, I think it's going to be really well received and I think this will be a hit for Microsoft. I just do wonder about I
I
think
think
them
it's going to
setting
be
the
extremely
expectation was
niche.
smart here, but I don't know if the message is going to be received by the large majority of people who actually buy the game, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and I can just see the conversations now on Twitter that, oh my God, this game's only 6 hours. What the fuck, you know? Um,
I can only do this three basic combos. Like
yeah,
what is this
right.
like? And that's not
Yeah,
the experience they were going for. They were going for a totally different experience.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
can see this game getting eaten up. I can see this being
yeah,
like a Rotten Tomatoes type situation where critics love it, but gamers hate it. Like the audience hates it,
yeah,
type deal.
yeah. All right. Well, it's coming on May 21st, though. So we'll find out fairly soon in the next few months about that one. So, next thing they showed, so this was positioned as a first party thing, but they brought in Square Enix and did a little presentation with them on Visions of Mana, which is coming this summer in summer 2024. And I was surprised
She
to
looks
hear
really
about
good.
this. Well, I was just surprised to even see this though. Here, I do feel like this is kind of a message almost from Square because we've been talking about Square on the show for a couple of years that they become basically a Sony first party without being one,
Mhm.
and I think this is important for Xbox because they're breaking that here. They're getting this game day and date, and I think that's an important move for them to get Square Enix kind of back in their corner, maybe. Because I think if you want to have any chance in Japan, dude, like you've got to have Square, like Square Enix has got to be putting games on your platform to me. So, but beyond that, I mean, the game, yeah, what did you think of the game, Montreal?
I think the games look really fucking cool, actually. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did like it. But yeah, I think it looks really fucking cool. I actually can't wait to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I might go back and play the other game. I think it's Trials of Mana.
Yeah, that's the most
Uh,
recent one. Yeah.
yeah, I might actually go back and play that game. Because it looks really cool. I like the monsters you can collect and do different moves and everything of that nature. I think it's just a really cool game. It look cool looking. I like the style of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and everything of that nature. They have a very unique style. I don't know what kind of style it is, but they managed to. It almost looks Dragon Questy, but it's not
Yeah.
Dragon
I was
Questy.
gonna
You know?
say it's like alternate
Eh,
Dragon Quest. This is what it
yeah,
is. Because some of the monsters, like the skeletons specifically, like remind me so much of Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
But then you have the iconic little like yellow fucking, I don't even know what to call it, little bunny pouch monster, that's like a
Yeah.
mana specific, iconic monster. And yeah, the I don't know, like yeah, the game looks really solid. I don't know if I'm like excited about it though personally. I've never been into the Mana series that much. Like I tried to play. I remember when I was a kid, I was actually kind of obsessed with Secret of Mana. But I never really played it. Like I was obsessed with it through my brother, like watching him play it.
Mhm.
And then when I played it myself, I got through, I don't know, not a lot of the game. I think I got to like the tiger boss that you fight, and I kind of dropped the game after that. I was like, this game, it's not that fun, It's like
It's
so
fun for you to watch but not play.
yeah, I absolutely, exactly. It was one of those games for me. So I've never really picked any of these games up otherwise, and I don't know. So I don't know if this is necessarily for me, but I think it did look cool. Like I think it looks certainly like the action combat like looked interesting enough. It was kind of weird though. I feel like the character wasn't there wasn't like a soft lock on or anything like that. It looked like there wasn't any kind of lock on going on. Like the character was
Yeah.
just kind of swinging and hitting things.
Yeah,
Um,
it definitely still look under development.
yeah, for sure. So I don't know. Seems like there's some things they gotta iron out. But I mean, what about the what do you think this means for Xbox though in terms of getting Square
S-
games? Like, do you think this
So
is
I
a
will say
big
this.
deal?
I believe I want to say uh this is either their second time or not second time, but like third or fourth time doing this. I don't know if you remember back in the day, um, but obviously X10 or Final Fantasy X was
Yeah,
like almost like a PlayStation exclusive, I think.
yeah.
PlayStation 2. I think 11 came out. I don't think it came out on Xbox.
I think it did actually.
It did.
It just took a long time. It took a long
Okay.
time. Yeah.
Um, but I do remember them positioning 13. Now 12, I don't remember because I actually did not
That
play
was a
12.
PlayStation exclusive.
Okay, yeah. I think a lot of people just kind of put 12 under the radar. But
Square did that when they released it at the very end of the generation for PS2.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I do remember 13 actually being shown on 360, like in their conference.
Yeah.
And I remember people being really upset about that. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's why the game's hated to this day by people, specifically Final Fantasy people,
Yeah.
specifically people who play on PlayStation. I'm
Mhm.
not saying that's why they hate the game, but I think that's why a lot of the hate came from Final Fantasy 13. Uh,
Yeah.
because it was positioned to be an Xbox exclusive, but it wasn't. It came out both PS3 and Xbox 360. I think it
Yeah.
played better on the 360. I want to say at the time, but yeah, I do remember that. So this is not their first time doing this. So I mean that is pretty interesting that they're doing it again. And I
Mhm.
think this is actually not even I don't even think it's a thing for Square. I think it's a thing for Xbox realizing that they have to expand their markets. Like you can't just be like you can't just give up the Eastern market anymore. Like you have to
Right.
try now, you know.
Yeah.
And I
No,
think
there's just
they're
so many Japanese games. Like you can't give up that whole
yeah,
development sphere, dude. Like
yeah,
because they did the same thing with Persona last year. They got Persona, onto the platform finally, which these are important steps, like I think it just feels like I just feel like Xbox kind of got shoved into a niche of like a Western multiplayer console for a really long time, and I think they're like trying to dig themselves out of that hole finally.
yeah,
um and I don't know, maybe too little too late kind of thing, but it's good to see, I think. And at least for Square too, I think it's good for them too, in the sense that like I don't want them to get purchased by Sony. I don't want to see that. And that seems like it may have come and gone as a thing at this point, because yeah, they're starting to proliferate onto Xbox, which is certainly interesting. So all right. Well, summer 2024 for that one. And moving on to the fourth game they showed, which was Oxide Games showing off Ara History Untold, which is the game I mentioned earlier. That is a 4X Civ like game. And this game looked pretty cool to me, man. Like, as somebody who's into the 4X genre, They seem to be going for a little bit more of a dynamic kind of gameplay system with the game where you actually have people walking around on the map and stuff like that, which Civ doesn't really have. And there may be things kind of going on your tiles other than, it's not static necessarily. It's kind of what I guess what I'm saying. And also the map was very asymmetric. The spaces were not equally the same size or distance, and things like that, which I found very intriguing as well. So I'm actually kind of intrigued by this game and how much they showed it. I think Xbox is showing a lot of confidence in it as well. So this one is also coming. This is coming in fall 2024. But I don't know. As somebody who plays Civ, and was talking about Civ earlier, I think we, having fresh blood in the genre and getting some teams. It's like some of the because the designers from this team, they've worked on Civ games before, and 4X games. So I have confidence that they'll at least make something solid for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna play this day one necessarily, but you know,
You
I'll be
know what?
interested to
I
check it out.
I will commend Xbox. I'm glad they're trying to bring this genre back to life. It's not necessarily an RTS. I don't know what would you call this genre, like a city builder genre,
Well, it's 4X
4X. Okay.
is what they're called. I mean, this genre is not dead by any stretch of the imagination. By the way, like there are tons of 4X games that come out every year. It's
Yeah, I
just
think they're.
it's just still niche. It's still pretty
Yeah, I think they're
niche.
trying to bring it back to the main. Because I remember at one point this was like mainstream. Like this was the thing to play
I'd say in the early
in the early
2000s
in the
that
early
might
two
be true.
thousands.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
when
late
Civ 4
late
came out, it was
nineties.
probably at its peak.
Yeah, and I do commend them for trying to trying to bring this whole niche genre back up and everything like that. Because even like 2 years ago, even though it's not the same genre, I think they're closely related. Like Age of Empires 4 came out, and they're pushing
Yep.
that as well.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, I do commend them for trying to get those games out and everything like that. So
Yeah, I just appreciate them giving space to these kind of PC centric games. I think it kind of lends credence to their whole, the things they've been saying. They're messaging that they want to focus on games everywhere. It's not just necessarily Xbox. So,
yeah, exactly.
because this game's not coming to Xbox, it's not listed for Xbox. It may eventually come to Xbox, possibly, but that's not the initial focus with the game. So yeah, I don't know. I like the system too that they mentioned leaders. They're not just going to be literally like kings and queens and emperors and shit like that. Like they're gonna have historical figures that you can play as. That might be like maybe a famous scientist or an artist or something like that. Which I find that interesting. Certainly
Yeah,
because Civ has never done anything like that. Really, it's mostly been like ancient kings and queens in history, and stuff like that. So that is certainly interesting as well. And I just think there's some cool little design tenants that'll be kind of fun to explore with this one. So all right, fall 2024 for that one. All right, moving on to the final game they showed, and this was obviously the big one. Was Machine Games finally showed off and revealed their Indiana Jones game, which is going to be Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And they just put a 2024 year window on this game, so they're saying it's coming out this year. But yeah, I mean, Montreal, this was the big one. What did you think of this?
um, I'm indifferent about it, man. I'm glad that we have an Indiana Jones, like a proper Indiana Jones that people are actually trying on. Um, However, I am tired of the first person aspect of games. But then again, it's like Tomb Raider was
Yeah,
third person,
Tomb Raider
Uncharted
was
was
third
third person.
person. Yeah.
So I guess it makes sense to try something different and do first person in this particular genre. And I don't know what this genre is called. Maybe the Tomb Raiding series, because I mean Indiana Jones is the original Tomb Raider. So
I just call
um,
them adventure. I don't know, not like
adventure,
adventure, not adventure games because that is a specific genre. But I don't know, like
yeah,
Tomb Raider. I guess you're right. Tomb Raiding genre.
yeah,
I
Tomb
don't know.
Raiding genre.
Whatever. Yeah.
uh,
Treasure
um,
Hunter game.
Yeah,
Treasure
Treasure Hunt.
Hunter.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Treasure Hunter. Uh So I do want to see their take on it as far as like a third person or sorry first person aspect of it. I'm going to give it a shot. I do like Indiana Jones, so I'm going to buy it. It looks really cool, but I did see a lot of people on Twitter complaining that it was first person, and I agree with those sentiments. But like somebody else said, this is what actually took me out of that bubble. It was an argument somebody said. It was like, you guys always say you guys want something different. Now somebody's trying something different, which is first person. And I'm like, is it different? But then I thought about it, like we said, we just named Tomb Raider and fucking Uncharted, which are both third person, and this
Yeah,
is different. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, I mean, I'm interested in seeing a first person take on this treasure hunting adventure game, puzzle solving genre.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so yeah, I'm actually into it. Like, I think it looks good. I think they put a lot of money behind it, and I don't think it's going to be machine games make really good first person shooters in general. So I don't think it's going to be a slouch of a game. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. And on top of that, it's single player, so I'm definitely going to play it. it's
yeah,
not like a it's not like a multiplayer type game, So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the first person thing, honestly, I think they definitely made the decision actively to differentiate it from Tomb Raider and Uncharted, because as much as those games are inspired by Indiana Jones, obviously,
yep,
I think at the same time, now making this game after all those games have come out, it would be in the reverse, right? Like where people would be
exactly.
like, this is just like this is like a shitty Uncharted game with Indiana Jones slapped on it or something. It's like, so
Yep,
I think they wanted to avoid that, number one. And I think number two is that those games are shooters. Tomb Raider and Uncharted. They're shooters first. And to me, I don't look at this game that way. This is not a shooter. Like the
yeah,
gameplay they showed, that this is an adventure game. Like the puzzles seem to be the more important element of anything with this game. And as much as I love Uncharted, the puzzles in Uncharted are just like, you just climb things and then you hit a button and you come back down. Like they're not really like they're not brain benders. So I don't know about Tomb Raider. I've never played any of the
yeah.
new
I was
Tomb
speaking on
Raiders,
Tomb
but
Raider. So the first couple of Tomb Raiders, the puzzles were actually really good. The first three Tomb Raiders, so PlayStation One.
mhm.
And then it just got really easy. It became Uncharted levels, especially in the remake of the Tomb Raider or
Yeah.
the remakes of the Tomb Raider. They became really, I would say, Uncharted level
Mm.
type
Yeah.
puzzles where they're like super easy to solve, and you didn't. They had white marks everywhere to kind of, oh, this is obviously a place you guys need to go.
This is where you
Yeah,
can climb, yeah, the
yeah,
whole horizon shit, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and to be
Whereas
clear,
like
I do want to be clear too. When I say that the Tomb Raider shooter, not the old games. I'm talking about the newer ones.
you talking
Like
about the newer ones, yeah.
yeah, they're positioned much more as shooters. So
Yeah, the older games, I love them because they did have shooting elements into them. The shooting elements were kind of bad, but uh they were puzzle and adventure games first. Like you had to get they were Metroidvania games in a 3D space,
yeah,
where you had to unlock certain things, take one item. Oh, I remember seeing this item way back at the beginning where I could open this up at. And yeah, you had to backtrack a lot in the levels and stuff like that. And that game was, I remember for the time, that game was extremely long. That game was like 30 hours, man. Or at least for me, when I played, I was like 6 when I played that shit. That
yeah,
shit was like 30 hours for me, bro. And it was like 15 levels on Tomb Raider 1. And it was just a really cool game. It was a really atmospheric game and everything of that nature. And I do actually get that vibe from Indiana Jones, but I also get the Indiana Jones vibe from it, as well. And I think, like you said, like Uncharted really tried to be Indiana Jones without being Indiana Jones. Um, but yeah, there's only one Indiana Jones, man. That's Nathan Drake. This is
uh-huh.
Indiana Jones. So
Yeah.
um, I think it's going to be really cool. I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, and I mean the whip stuff, like the whip looks really cool in the
Yeah,
game, the way they've implemented it. Like it looks like a really versatile tool, which is obviously like an iconic part of Indiana Jones. So I think that's really cool. I think the kind of enemy you're going to be up against, the villain sounded really interesting. The one clip the couple clips they showed of him, I'm certainly intrigued. And I think the one thing that weirded me out though is they're using Harrison Ford's face, right, for the character
yeah,
and the voice. I need to look this up. Like, who's doing the voice? Because it sounds sort of like Harrison Ford. Is it somebody just doing an impression,
I think it's
or
somebody doing an impression of him.
yeah? Because they were doing pretty good. It was like suspiciously good. Where I'm like, my brain is like, is there some AI nonsense going on here? But no, I don't necessarily think so. But so I don't know. Yeah, no, it definitely looks interesting. I'm actually, of all the games they showed, this is probably the one I'm the most interested in, that I'm the likeliest to play, I think,
Yeah,
personally. And yeah, this
and
might
to
actually
be
get me to
honest,
turn my Xbox on, dude. Like, that's crazy.
and to be honest, who else can be Indiana Jones? Like the franchise will have to remake itself, so Indiana
Oh,
Jones can be
oh
somebody
yeah.
else.
No, they couldn't make the character not look like Harrison Ford, right? Like, I,
Yeah,
I think that's kind of what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I don't think you can do that. Really, I don't know.
yeah.
It's like it
You
would,
would
it
have to
would,
actually wait for the movie to actually remake itself with a new actor
yeah, right,
before you
yeah,
can do it in a video game, in my opinion.
hmm,
So,
yeah. No, I agree. And they said this is taking place between Raiders of the
uh,
Lost Ark
yep,
and
secret.
Temple
I
Temple of
saw
Doom.
it. Let me check. I saw it. Oh my god, I just saw it. I tried to take a note of it so I can
Hold on.
remember. Oh, okay. So Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Last Crusade.
Last Crusade. Gotcha. 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 Okay. Yeah. 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 Okay. So yeah, it is actually taking place within the Indiana Jones timeline too, which is cool. I think, which is definitely interesting. So yeah, it's coming in 2024, and we'll cover it more if they show more. But otherwise, just looking forward to this game at this point. So yeah, overall, Montreal, though, that was all they showed with the 5 games. But I mean, how do you feel about the whole thing? Obviously, we talked about the structure of it, but like for Xbox, like, how do you feel about this?
I feel like it was pretty strong. To be honest with you, uh, I wasn't expecting the Indiana Jones game at all.
Me
I
either.
think about as much as I dislike the way it looks, I think it's still a solid game. Uh, is it Era? How you pronounce
I'm
that?
saying Ara
Ara.
History
Okay.
Untold. Yeah,
I think that's a really cool niche game for people who want to get out of the 4X spear um, or out of the Civ spear. I think Visions of Mana looks cool, even though I don't think that's an exclusive. I think they're trying to position it as an exclusive, but it's not.
it's not. It's coming to
Um,
PlayStation.
the only one I'm actually disappointed in is Hellblade, which is sad because I was really looking forward to that game. I'm still gonna give it a chance and buy it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just wasn't really turned on by the shit that they were saying. Like it didn't really catch me, in my opinion. Like because like the stuff that they're saying, the first game kind of already did, and it's like they're not trying to. They're trying to do what the first game did, but like with more money. in my, that sounds so weird, but like it's not really because it's not. It sounds like they didn't really improve it, in my opinion. But
Yeah,
whatever.
do you feel
I
like
don't.
they should have made something else and just left Hellblade as a standalone game?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think so.
Okay. Well, we'll see how you feel after you play it, I guess. Um, but yeah, for the overall thing for me, I think this was really strong. I do think Xbox has set themselves up for a big 2024 where Sony is, we don't know right now. Like, we know nothing. We've got Helldivers 2 from them coming, I think, in a few weeks, and then other than that, like, we have no fucking idea. So um I would kind of love something similar from them at some point soon. But yeah, no, I think Xbox did a good job here, um kind of setting themselves up and getting their fans excited for stuff. It's just the only thing I question at this point is, like, does this even matter though? Like, these kind of things, like all these games, let's say all these games come out and they're all fucking like excellent, they're all like nines. Like, do you think that really moves the needle though in terms of
No,
the
because people,
console
uh,
situation?
PlayStation always gonna have a stronger bias in video games. That's
Yeah.
just what it is. What it
Like,
is,
I think
man.
it's too late. Like, I think losing the PS4 generation, like, is kind of killed this whole thing. Like, I think it's become a tidal wave, for Sony. Like,
Yeah, no, it's if anything, what they needed to do is as soon as the Xbox Series X was released, you have a game, like you have a couple of games that just blow everything out of the water and they miss that mark by a
Mhm.
fucking mile. And then your flagship game, your flagship mascot, Halo, dropped and it was terrible.
Flops, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the
Starfield
single
didn't
player
meet expectations.
Starfield didn't meet expectations at all. I mean, and now you're just buying up the industry and you look like you just lost. And then even your other flagship game doesn't look up to snuff, in my opinion. Like I didn't see a lot of people talking about it or anything. So, which is Hellblade. Uh, so yeah, I don't know, man. Like I think, like you said, it's a tidal wave. This industry is always going to be Sony biased, but it is a little bit too late. Like they can't. The only way they can recover is if these 5 games come out or 4. I'm not really counting Visions of Mana. If these 3 or 4 games come out and they're all just like hit after hit after hit, and you got to do it again next year. You got to hit. You got to have all 4 hits next year
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well. And then maybe people will start like talking about Xbox again. It's in a good light, but
Mhm.
that's maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. But I will say these games though do have the opportunity to kind of make Game Pass a pretty strong proposition this year too. So, because at least the Xbox ones are all going to be day one on Game Pass. So yeah, it's a kind of a big deal. All right, let's move into the rest of the show here. So we got more Microsoft news. So we talked about the good stuff from Microsoft. Now let's get into the bad stuff. So this happened today. Is Microsoft has laid off 1,900 employees across the Xbox spectrum, and that is about. They said it was about 8% of their workforce, and a lot of this hit Blizzard from Activision Blizzard specifically, but even Blizzard itself specifically got hit pretty hard, which we'll get into that here in a bit. But yeah, more layoffs, man. I mean, it's just been layoff city to start the year, dude. Like everybody's laying, all these companies are just laying people off. I mean, we're going to talk about another one here after this too, that happened as well. So it's just like, I mean, what do you think is going on right now with the industry? Like, is this just like a correction? Are all these companies correcting themselves?
Yeah. Okay. Before I start, are we talking about we're talking about both the
Just
1900 and
Microsoft for now. Just
okay.
Microsoft.
Yeah. All right. I just making sure we're talking about like the physical games too as well.
Oh yeah,
Um,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, that's my bad. Yes. So yeah, let me throw that in here. We can separate the Blizzard part. So yeah, Microsoft also part of the layoffs actually hit their physical games division, according to Jez Corden, who is a kind of been a reporter. He's reports on inside information a lot, but most of his stuff is centered on Xbox and Microsoft. And he has been pretty accurate with that. So I do take him as a fairly reputable source in this
Yeah.
situation. So,
Same.
so yeah, their physical games division is supposedly getting shut down. That does not mean that they're not going to be making physical games going forward. It could get outsourced, or they may have a plan, but this may be an indicator of things to come, though, for them. So, go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, just to talk about everything as far as like Microsoft and Blizzard and everything. I think what I was going to say before the show, this is a correction from 2020. I don't know if you remember in 2020, especially in 2021, um, tons of tech uh places were hiring like crazy. They were just
Yeah.
hiring, and
Yep.
even my job, like they were hiring, and that's how I got hired on and everything of that nature. There was just a really need for people to work um in a tech sphere because that was like, to be honest with you, the only workable thing because everybody
Yeah.
was remote. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of physical jobs became essential working jobs and all the other bullshit like that. And then 2022, like we were kind of still dealing with it, and a lot of people still had money because job, um, uh, job salaries were going up. Like everything was going up. Job
Mm,
salaries were going up with it. I got a
hmm.
huge salary boost. You got a huge salary boost. I mean, we both did. And then 2023, that's when everything started to correct itself.
Yeah.
And now we're on a crash course of correction.
Yeah.
I don't think it's People think as a recession. I don't think so. I think it's like a course correction. I think we were super. If there's a line, we were so above the line. Now we're coming back down to the line, and we're going to be riding that line for a while. But I don't think we're going to go below the line. If that makes
Yeah.
any sense. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's happening now with a lot of these game companies as well. This was kind of bound to happen. I mean, even though this is not related to it. I mean, earlier, or I can't say earlier this year. Holy shit, we are earlier this year. Last year, rather. uh,
Yeah.
we had like 30 studios closed down or 30 games closed down because of like, people
Mm.
weren't buying free to play games anymore. They weren't buying microtransactions. And I would even go to say if there was some kind of report, if they did some kind of report, I follow like Apex news and stuff like that. A lot of people aren't really buying microtransactions like that anymore. They're still buying them in huge droves, yes, but they're not buying them as much as they used to and things of nature. A lot of people are cutting back stuff and everything of that nature. So I think Microsoft, along with a whole bunch of other companies that laid off employees, we'll talk about another one later on, like Justin said. Um, yeah, I think they're just course correcting. I mean, and this also happens with acquisitions. Also, like
Mm.
we all knew this was going to happen anyway. I knew Blizzard. I knew a lot of their projects was going to get cut because they just take too fucking long with them. Um,
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if you want
Yeah.
to talk about that too, but but
Yeah, I wanted to I don't know, it's kind of hard. There's so many things that happening in this one story. Like I wanted to
yeah,
like compartmentalize it a little bit. So
yeah.
well, yeah, so on the Microsoft, just the layoffs in general. Yeah, this I don't know. It's not surprising necessarily. Like they're cleaning house in Activision to kind of create their vision, I think, of what the company is, which I will say, I don't obviously I'm not in love with people getting laid off. However, on the side of us talking about Microsoft actually getting involved in these companies and kind of taking a little bit of control and kind of directing them a little bit more closely than they have been with some of their developers. Um, like on that front, like this is kind of a positive sign, I guess, that Microsoft is kind of wanting to take a little bit more control of Activision. They have a plan in mind, clearly. That and they're
Mhm.
they're enacting it in some way because with Blizzard, Mike Ibarra is he resigned, quote unquote, as part of this move. Clearly that doesn't seem like it was, might not have been voluntary necessarily, but Alan Adam is their chief design officer at Blizzard, is also leaving as well. So they're cleaning house at the leadership level as well. And obviously we know Bobby's been gone for a month already, and so it's they're clearly wanting to install their own leadership over Activision Blizzard, and I think um, do I think that's a positive? I don't know. We don't know. Like we need to see it play out, I guess. But in the sense of, I like to see the idea though that Microsoft wants to take a little bit more active approach with this company, and it almost makes you wonder. Like I don't know. I don't want to get like into Blizzard too deep, um, but well, hold on. I'll save my thoughts on this because I want to talk about the physical thing first.
Okay.
So what do you think about the physical part of it? The physical division getting let go?
It was inevitable. There are
Yeah.
so many sentiments I see now that me and your sentiments, to be honest with you as well, are just like digital. And as much as I want to be physical, as far as buy physical stuff and everything of that nature, um, I've seen so many people on Twitter just be like, I just buy digital. And it's like, oh, because like, they had a 75% sale and everything like that. And it's like, yeah, you can't kind of beat that. You can't beat that, you
Yeah.
know? Um, and I get it. It's like instant gratification, 75% off, 50% off, 25% off, these sales and everything like that. Like, why would I go to Target when I can just go to my Xbox store and get the same game, you know,
Right.
25% off?
Like you got to get up, like clean yourself up a little bit, put the deodorant on, and then
Yep.
it's like I don't want to spend 30 minutes like going to Target, Like I'd rather just download the game and start playing it right now. Because actually a big barrier for me with this recently, I just got my internet upgraded in the last week. And I now have gigabit ethernet internet.
Finally.
And
Nice.
I know it's been years, right? I've been talking about this, and that has actually been a barrier for me though with digital games, because I would like like Spider-Man, for instance. It took me an hour to download. Like it wasn't.
What?
I mean, yeah, dude, it's like a 50 gig game or 60 gig game. It's like it took a significant amount of time. Maybe not an hour. Maybe it was like 30 or 45 minutes, but still, it's a lot of time, right? Whereas now it's going to take me like literally a few minutes, if that. It's like so. I'm like now it's like if I want a game, I can just go buy it and I'll be playing it within 10 minutes. If I want to, and it's like that is a convenience factor there that is like significant. So because that happened, yeah, with Prince of Persia, I downloaded it, dude. I was playing it within 5 or 10 minutes of clicking the download button. It was fucking crazy. Um, so I think that's another aspect to this is the ubiquity of digital. Is I think a lot of people are getting into this situation where now gigabit ether internet is becoming um kind of ubiquitous. Like it's offered in a larger portion of the country, obviously not in rural areas necessarily, but if you're near a city or you're in the suburbs, like it's becoming ubiquitous. So I think that was a barrier that is getting knocked down, certainly. So, and yeah, this is just like I think we talked about this on the show. I think we talked about the future of Xbox and digital and physical, and they always felt like the one, if somebody was going to go full digital with the console, it was going to be Microsoft. I felt like with Xbox first, and there are reports of that coming up, like their next console may be digital only, like they might
Yeah.
not have a disc drive at all. And they may be just doing away with the physical games on their platform. So if that's true, then this makes total sense. They're just getting ready for that future basically at this point. So not a huge surprise. But if they're doing that, I mean, Sony would be the next domino. I know Nintendo would be the last one to hold out on that front, I would think. Um, but yeah, I don't know. The digital future is approaching, Montreal. So anything else on the layoffs specifically before we get into Blizzard?
Yeah, I think I didn't think about it from that aspect when you mentioned earlier of Microsoft taking control of stuff like that. I think I wouldn't be surprised if this was like also kind of like a pseudo power move with the
Yeah.
layoffs, because now these studios are like, oh shit, like they're laying off people. We got to actually perform. Like that
Yeah,
means
Blizzard.
rare, no more fucking ever wild or whatever the fuck that was called. Like you got to actually produce shit now. Like I think I think the companies under Microsoft now are actually going to start performing and actually be like, all right, we can't do what we did before, which is another thing I think why we had like that developer conference, developer diary thing that or direct we had. That's another story. But like, I think
Mm,
now, um, yeah, their studios are kind of like if I was in the studio, I would be thinking that like, okay, shit, we got to perform now. We can't be making games behind Microsoft back anymore. Like we
yeah.
can't make the shit because I feel like over the last 7 years they've been doing that. Microsoft has been like, all right, hey man, do what you want to do, you know. But now it's like now we got to start producing. We bought all this stuff, we bought y'all, and now y'all not producing anything. So
Hmm.
I think the
Yeah.
layoffs is also like I said, a pseudo power move as well.
Hmm. Okay. Makes sense. All right. Well, as part of this came another story with the layoffs at Blizzard that their um, uh, the game they're working on, the survival game that Blizzard announced a few years ago now, has been canceled, and the entire team was let go as part of that cancellation, and as part of these layoffs as well. So, Montreal, you sent this to me earlier, and when I saw it, I didn't even bat an eye. I was just like, "Yeah, makes sense." But I thought at first it was interesting at first though, because I thought it was Blizzard. Like I thought this was coming from Blizzard potentially, like they were the ones deciding to cancel it. And then in the context of these layoffs, it actually feels like Microsoft is like, no, shut that game down. We're not. You've been working on it for 6 fucking years, and
And it was
it's not
nowhere
even
near
fucking
done.
close. It's not even
Yeah,
close to being done. Yeah. So what the fuck are you doing? Shut that shit down and let's go work on other stuff. So which is interesting, right? About talking about Microsoft taking a little bit more control. Um, I'm okay. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of people are probably going to be disappointed in this. In the like when it was in the like when I was thinking about it in the frame of Blizzard canceled this game, decided to cancel this game, I was mad. But then when I found out Microsoft did these layoffs and may have been the ones to decide to cancel it, I wasn't mad anymore. I was like, oh, okay. Wow. So this isn't incompetence. This is like Microsoft coming in and being like, y'all are incompetent. Shut this shit down. We're moving this over here. No, we're done with this fucking game. Like we're not going to give you 5 more years to release this stupid fucking game. Like who knows? You're going to take 11 years to make a fucking video game. Fuck no, we're not doing that. So I mean, obviously, I'm inferring a lot there, but that kind of what the move
No,
indicates to me, though. Like,
no,
you know,
this I agree with you. I'm not gonna go super hard, like you said, but
hmm
I agree with you. We all know Blizzard is notorious for taking 20 years to make a fucking game. Um, and then sometime when the game is released, there's just no excuse why it took so fucking long to make the game.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, if you're working on the game for 6 years, and okay, I'm sorry, I don't because I know you know what I will say this. I'm gonna speak it to existence, Justin. Don't laugh, or you can laugh.
okay.
When we get famous, when our podcast blows up,
Yeah,
um,
okay. I love it. Let's do it. Will it
um,
into existence.
yeah, when our podcast blows up, I know there are going to be people who are going to listen to our podcast, and we take shots at everybody,
The
right? We
old
took shots
episodes,
at,
yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah,
First
we
episode,
took
dude. I was ranting about Blizzard.
well, we took shots at not just Blizzard, but like people in the industry as well, like
Oh,
kind of
true. Yeah.
funny
Absolutely.
and Jason
Yeah.
Schreier. As much as we love those people and everything, you guys
We've said
actually
some
inspired
things,
us. Yeah,
certainly.
you.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta understand, you guys inspired us. That being said, I did not like his comments when I was looking at those comments, and I was just like, because he broke the story, and he was like, "Oh, well, it's actually a fun game. I heard." And it's like, bro, it wasn't done. I don't care how fun the game was. It wasn't done. 6 years, six
Yeah, and
fucking
you're
years.
telling me it's multiple years away from being released? Fuck you. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm so tired of Blizzard getting like what like that's the funny part about that is like Schreier is like almost like trying to spin the story like almost to make it like seem like, oh, poor Blizzard, obviously he's probably taking a shot about the layoffs or whatever. But dude,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's like you hate this company, bro. You hate this company. Like, don't
He
defend
does.
them. Don't defend them. Like, fuck this shit, So no, I'm actually totally okay with it. I had no expectations for this survival game. I wasn't excited about it at all.
I
I
remember when
was not hyped about
we
it.
talked about it. I remember when we talked about it, you were pissed, and I was. We were like, and we both said at the time, we're never going to see this game,
Mm-hmm.
and we never
I
saw it.
No, and we're never gonna see it, and it never happened. It didn't materialize. We never saw a trailer of it. We didn't get a name. We got nothing, and we're never gonna get anything. And you know what? See you later. It's like, how big of a team do you think was working on this fucking game? 100 people?
Yeah, maybe like 100, 200 people, maybe.
What a waste of fucking time. What a waste of time. They could have been making a StarCraft game. They could have been making and again, I don't want to say I'm not against them making new IPs. I actually love the idea of Blizzard making new IPs, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not very good at it. I guess is what I will say. Like Overwatch is kind of whatever. Like, it's just I don't know. They started it
Is
off
that their
strong.
only new IP?
It is. Yeah, it is.
Oh my god, man.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, man. If I was buying you and your only new IP within the last 10 years, is
25 years,
oh my
honestly.
god. Yeah,
Because yeah, it
I
was
would
it
probably
was it
clean
was
house too.
Warcraft, Diablo, and StarCraft, and then StarCraft was 1998. That's the last time they had a new IP before Overwatch.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would probably clean house too. I'm not even, and I don't even mean not to be mean or anything like that, but like, yeah, as a CEO, I'm gonna have to be like, dude, what is going on? Well,
I'm
you're the money
sure. I'm
maker.
sure when Microsoft saw the books for Blizzard and got a window into everything, dude, they were probably shocked. They're like, "How are you guys this successful?" Like they had, like it had to have been a situation like that, because yeah, it's just, dude, fucking eye opening shit, bro. Like, I don't know, like because they're just, it's like an incompetent company. They've been incompetent for a long time, you know.
I just
So
don't like their development cycles. I understand you want your game to be really good and perfect, right? Um, I just still don't feel like it should have taken 10 years for StarCraft to come out. It should, or StarCraft 2 rather. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Was it 10 years? I think it was about 10
Yeah.
years, right?
No,
Yeah.
dude, you know what though? Like they were infamous for this 20, 25 years ago, right? Taking forever to make their game and we'll release it when it's ready and all that nonsense. And that was acceptable when the games came out and they were 10s. When the games
Yeah.
come out and they're 7s, that's not okay anymore. Like I don't need to wait 8 years for a 7. Like nobody's excited about that, you know? Blizzard's living off their name. They're living off the brands they have. Like that's what they're living off of. It's not the quality of their games anymore. And it hasn't been the quality of the games for 15 years. We talked about that on the first fucking episode we ever did of this show. Like they are surviving off of name brand recognition, and that is it. Diablo 4 was not good when it came out. Like I don't care. I don't care what you say. Like it was not a fucking fun. It wasn't a fun game. Like
Diablo 4 is a definitely interesting game because on the Metacritic score, the critics is an 86, but the
I
user
don't
scores
fucking
is a
dude
2.2.
with Blizzard. With Blizzard, they're like Madden to me or Call of Duty. Call of Duty.
Call of
Yeah, I don't
Duty?
know. I'm fucking like, dude. I'm losing it right now. I'm losing the string. Dude, they're like those games to me though. I don't take critic opinion seriously at all when it comes to Blizzard because nobody's plugged in on Blizzard, bro. When I listen to influencers talk about Blizzard, I feel like I'm listening to somebody talk about Congress that doesn't pay attention to politics. Like they have no idea what they're talking about. They don't understand the history. They don't know the games. They don't know the people. They don't know the game. They don't know the fucking franchises. They know nothing about any of that stuff. And they're sitting here like telling me that, oh, this game is great. It's like, no, bro. Like Diablo 2 was great. Okay. Diablo 4 is not great. This is not good. Hearthstone is a fucking microtransaction machine. StarCraft 2 was dog shit. You know, like it was 3 games of dog shit. Like, what are we doing here? World of Warcraft hasn't been good in fucking 13 years, you know? And how is this company still this successful? I don't understand it. I don't fucking get it. I don't get it. And I'm hoping Microsoft is coming in and slapping some bitches, you know? Like that's kind of what I'm hoping for. You know, layoffs are bad, but you know, sometimes you don't perform though. You know, that's the thing about the layoffs, right? Layoffs are always framed in this like, oh, we're so sorry for all these people losing their jobs. And while that's
I mean,
true,
I am sorry for them losing their job. Yeah, I
sometimes
am
though,
though.
it's performance. You know, sometimes you just don't perform, and at a certain point, like we're gonna get into that with Riot here in a second. Sometimes things don't work out the way you thought, and the teams that are making something didn't perform and hit the targets you wanted them to hit. And when that happens, you let them go. Like, and I don't know. I mean, that might not be what Microsoft's necessarily doing here per se, but that's kind of what led here to me, I guess, is Blizzard like not really performing the way they should. Because when you take a real look at their games, if I was internal, if I was running them, you know, if I was really looking at them, okay, yeah, Diablo 4 did really well commercially, right? Like it was really high on the list last year, but honestly, it wasn't that high. It was like number 5 or 4, you know? And it's like, this is Diablo, dude. Like, we should be doing a little bit better than that, don't you think? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, there were some heavy hitters last year for sure, but like, I don't know, man. Like, you know, it's like this is Diablo. You know, it's like so meaning that there's something missing. Like they're not hitting the right thing. And when you start looking at the game, you know, all the issues with the game, you know, people like Asmongold and some of these other streamers talking about Blizzard, like obviously they're really in it and there's a lot of history and we all feel they kind of feel like I do, right? Like we've been with Blizzard for a really long time and we're kind of bitter about what happened to the company. And that definitely paints the way we talk about them. Absolutely. But at the same time, we're not wrong. You know, it's like we're not wrong. Like Asmongold talks shit about Blizzard every chance he gets, but I've never really heard him say anything that I really disagree with. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's not wrong, you know? And it's like, so when you look at it like really analytically and try to be objective about it, it's like, they're not a good company. They don't make great games anymore. You know, it's like Overwatch 2, wet fart. Where is that game? Like it's who's talked about that game since it got relaunched?
I can't
Nobody.
believe that. That was probably the one of the worst fucking like sequels of a multiplayer game I've
Yeah,
ever seen. Besides like Call of Duty 3 or something. Call of Duty
we
Modern
played it for
Warfare
2
3.
months. It was fun, but no sticking power whatsoever. Like whatever, came and went, you know? And when was the
Mhm.
last time I heard anybody talk about that? Not since we were playing it.
You
Like,
know this is how I knew it was bad. When
yeah.
DJ is an Overwatch fanatic, he even told me like I'm not playing this shit anymore. I was like,
Yeah.
why? It's like it's just not fun. Like
Yeah.
that's when
Yeah.
I knew they lost because they lost DJ and he loved
He
Overwatch.
was a diehard, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And dude, that's the point, right? They don't even I don't even think they know what they're doing, half the time. Like they're successful in spite of themselves. That's doesn't make sense. And part of me thinks Microsoft sees that. That's what I'm hoping for, at least, that Microsoft sees that and they're going to try to correct it.
Hmm.
So that's all I can hope for. Sorry, I went on a rant there. I didn't mean to like monopolize the conversation, but it's like whenever I talk about Blizzard, like the fucking claws come out. Um, so yeah, I don't know. What about you? How do you feel about all this?
I mean I feel kind of the same way. I don't like to talk about layoffs as like a punishment, but because I think it sucks even if you are doing bad performance. I think it sucks when you lose your job because you may be going through something. That's why you're doing a bad performance. But I understand the other side of it too. Like if you're not performing, then you gotta lose your job. As far
I
as
don't mean
Blizz,
it. I don't mean to frame it like it's a punishment. What I'm saying is it's like a reality of business.
no, yeah,
Um,
and I get that, and I
yeah.
just, but I feel like people may take it as that, right? What you're saying as that when you're like, no, this is just business or whatever, and then and that's what I was getting at too. Like this is just business because if you're taking 6 years to work on the game,
Yeah. Right.
where is the money to produce and you're telling me you're not done with the game, then yes, you need either we need to reallocate you where your skills. You don't want to be reallocated, okay, or you don't want to be relocated into another department.
Hmm.
All right, well, I have to get rid of you then. And I think
Yeah.
that's probably what happened. I think a lot of them either they couldn't get relocated into another department or they didn't want to, and they just decided to leave, or they got laid off or whatever the case may be. Um, and it sucks, but it's like what else do you expect when you're working on the game for 6 years to produce nothing? You
Hmm.
know,
And
um,
you're asking for three more.
and yeah,
It's
you're
like,
asking for
come
three
on.
more years, and it's not like Blizzard is starving for money, but it's not like they're making a ton of money as well. I mean, yes, they got Diablo, they got World of Warcraft, and they got Overwatch. But those are all live service games that require their own teams, and that's siphoning
And
money into
Hearthstone.
them. And Hearthstone, I
Hearthstone.
forgot as well.
Yeah.
Hearthstone as well, and those are all siphoning money just to keep up. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're not. I'm pretty sure they're not. Dying for money, but they're not like making absorbent amounts of money as well. Probably just enough to keep them afloat and everything of that nature. So
Hmm.
yeah, like I don't know if I was coming into that, I would do the same thing. But I agree. I feel like Blizzard um was sniffing its own farts too much, and
Yeah.
they were this premier gaming company and I feel like they were riding high off that reputation of being a premier game company. And now when it's time to show your cards, you're not actually that game company anymore. You're just
Yeah.
what it is. You're four games, and those are your four games. And
Yeah.
that to me is pretty sad. You didn't even try to make any other games within those four games. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
if I was a CEO, I would probably, if I was Microsoft, I'm pretty sure they looked at the books and did what they had to do. And I'm not excusing Microsoft because I think it sucks that they had to lay off 8% of their workforce. Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time,
I
it's
mean,
just
I'm
like,
talking specifically at Blizzard too,
yeah,
by the way,
specifically at
right?
Blizzard. At the
Like when
same
I'm talking
time,
about the them like not performing thing, I don't know about the rest of Xbox. Who knows? Like I think a lot of this is a restructure. Xbox is making decisions for their future.
well, I mean, we
Specifically,
talked about it like last week or 2 weeks ago. We said that Xbox in general and Microsoft has to get a hold of these companies because they don't know
yeah,
what they're doing. You know,
right.
And I
Yeah, and
think,
how do you do that after you buy them? You let people go, dude. Like,
yeah,
unfortunately, that's just how it's going to happen. Like, you're if because I think that was probably the conversation during the purchase part, was evaluating, could they work with the leadership of Activision Blizzard and Blizzard? Could they do that? And the answer they came to, the conclusion they came to, was no. The two sides decided they couldn't work together, basically. And obviously, that is hitting some people that aren't part of leadership, like, developers and whatnot. But I think what Montrell said is probably what happened here is they were probably determining if these people could be reallocated somewhere else. And maybe they had conversations with those folks and were like, look, we're canceling, like, we're getting rid of this game's not happening anymore, like, so either you need to reallocate to another team, or or, or sorry, we don't have a position for you, kind of thing. And yeah, a lot of those people may have just said, okay, well then I'm gonna go, and that they're part of the layoff at that point. So I don't know, it's like, obviously it's, I don't want to frame it like it's like a, unfeeling robot type of thing, but um when you restructure a company, this is how you do it. You have to let people go. Like, you let the people go that don't make sense within the new structure. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah. I mean, that's all I have to say about that. I mean, it sucks. Um, it sucks for Microsoft employees. I don't want to I don't I don't want to sound evil, but
mhm.
it's like I can't really feel bad for Blizzard, man. I'm sorry.
I don't
Like
have it in me, dude.
I
I don't.
I I'm sorry. Like it sucks to lose your fucking job. It so sucks. I can't stress that enough because I lost my job at one point. But at the same time, you didn't produce anything. 6 years on the game and nothing came from it. Now, if it comes out like these people were like doing dual roles, like sometimes they may be working on one game and then going to
Mm,
work on
mhm.
that game, then
Yeah.
then I'll be like, okay, now that I'll eat my shit and be like, that's fucked up. But from what we know so far, it's only those people on those games on that game that was working on it. So yeah,
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to more layoffs. Riot, they announced earlier this week that they are letting go 530 employees globally, which for them is 11% of their staff, which is pretty significant. And this was released on their website. This was an email that they decided to release publicly on their website. They actually mentioned that later in the email, or in the statement, basically. And this one was, I took this one a little bit differently than the Microsoft one. Um, this CEO, so Dylan, his name is Dylan Jadeja, I think is his name, or Jadeja. Is He is actually new to the CEO role. He just became CEO in September this past year for Riot. So I find that interesting, number one, because the thing that came away with this is like, dude, if you're doing layoffs at your company, like, this is kind of how you do it, like, man, like he gave all this context explaining what their thought process was, why they're doing this, like,
yep,
and then
hmm,
explain the benefits that they're going to be giving the people that they're laying off: 6 months of salary at a minimum, access to health benefits. Still, they're going to get to keep access to their Riot email for at least 2 or 3 months, so they can move personal accounts off. They're also getting a cash bonus. Um, Tons of other stuff. If you go read through it, they're even offering like a laptop if you don't have one. Like, crazy stuff.
yeah.
So,
No,
like,
you can
yeah,
definitely tell like the company tried.
yeah.
This is a company that really tried, and
I
they said
Yes, absolutely.
it wasn't because of investors or anything like that. It was like we literally need to sustain ourselves. Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go first because I have I mean I'm not saying I have a little bit more insight, but I am a little bit more of a Riot fan. Like we
Well,
both are
this is your
Blizzard
Blizzard.
fans.
This is your version of Blizzard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
um,
well, so I'll get into it then. So yeah,
yeah,
I came away from this like, dude, like, feeling like, man, as a CEO, like, I kind of respect the way he handled this.
hmm,
Like, I think I love the fact that he gave context on what they're trying to do, like, because he goes back to 2019 with with, if you guys remember, we covered this when they were announcing all these games, the fighter,
Yep.
the two story driven games, the RPG, Valorant, all this stuff. They were expanding hugely, and he goes into all that, and that some of these bets didn't pay off, specifically, and Riot Forge is one of those, which is the one
Yep.
where they were working with external partners to use their IPs to make single player games. They're shutting that down. That's part of the layoffs. That whole team is going away, so they're not going to be doing that anymore. And I do appreciate, though, the honesty there, that he even mentions earlier up, actually, that they were trying to figure out how to make this work without laying anybody off. Things they could do, ways they could like push monetization in some of their games to make more money, to make these teams more self-sustainable, and it's not working, and unfortunately they just had to make the decision. So yeah, I don't know. It's just like it just came off like, this felt like somebody who really cared about their people, and maybe that's not the case. Maybe I'm reading into it too much. I'm just like letting
No,
subjectivity kind of get the better of me here, but I don't know.
no,
That's
I
how it came
agree.
off for me.
I agree with you. I think there are two sides of the story, though. One side, yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I feel like they did try everything in their power
Yeah.
to avoid layoffs. And the other side, I disagree that they tried
Hmm.
everything in their power to avoid layoffs.
Yeah.
All right. So we cover the games news, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm specifically talking about Riot Forge. I'm going to talk about them for a minute. I
Okay.
think that was one of their biggest ambitions and one of the to expand the lore and
Yeah.
everything of League of Legends and stuff of that nature. And I actually really enjoyed all of their games. Blade of the Rune King, Mage Seeker. I didn't play Convergence, but I do have it. Um I didn't only one I didn't play was the one from Ziggs. I forgot it was called. It's like a cell phone game, I think.
God, how many
Where
were there? Jesus, I didn't
there were
even
there
like
were a
some of these. I
couple.
don't.
It
Yeah.
that's exactly where I'm about to get you. Just let me finish.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then
Cook, man. Cook.
Song of Nunu came out. I played
Yeah.
that for a little bit. I like that game as well. And then they got Bandle coming out
Yeah.
later on, which is like a Harvest Moon type game, and that's their last game they're releasing. Out of all these games, which game do you remember them advertising?
Um. Honestly, okay. Like Bandletale was in a Nintendo Direct recently.
Mm-hmm.
So they did advertise that one. Mage Seeker is the one I remember the most.
Okay, I do too. I remember Mage Secret the most.
That was the one that I remember being pushed the most.
Yeah, because that was from Devolve Digital. So of course they're
Yeah.
gonna push
Okay.
that.
And the new game was in a Nintendo Direct as well.
I want to get to the new
Um.
game. So the
Yeah.
new game stealth dropped because they fucking delayed that game. They had a whole rollout for that game, and then it got delayed. And then once it dropped, they never talked about it. They never talked about it was delayed or anything. It just got stealth
Yeah.
dropped.
Yeah.
No, you know how I found about Nunu? It just randomly appeared on my YouTube feed that someone played it and they already beat the game. And it was like, oh, this is the end of the game. And I was like,
Mhm.
what the fuck? This is Song of Nunu? Like, I
Yeah.
didn't even know this game came out. Same thing with Convergence. It was an Echo game, an Echo Metroidvania game that a lot of people didn't know about.
What the
Nobody
hell?
still didn't. Yeah,
I've never even
no,
heard of that. Yeah.
exactly. It's a really cool Metroidvania Echo game. It's almost like a 2D version of fucking Prince of Persia Sands of Time, or not Sands of Time, but the Prince of Persia
Lost
game that
Crown.
just came
Yeah.
out. Yeah,
Well, because dude, no, you know what's funny? You have an ability in the Lost Crown like Echo, where you can leave a image of yourself, and you can go back to that.
yeah.
Um,
And I saw that in the trailer, and you can do
yeah.
that in Echo and
Well, because that's
Convergence.
Echo's ultimate. Yeah. Right.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
So you can do that in Convergence, and you can solve puzzles and everything like that. It reminds me of Mega Man X ZX. That's what it reminds me of
Hmm.
when I play that game.
Okay.
Because it's not necessarily like a Metroidvania. It just remind the way the stage is laid out and everything of that nature. It reminded me of Metroid. I'm sorry, Mega Man ZX.
Yeah.
So you had that game that came out. I remember them kind of advertising Blade the Rune King or the Rune King because that was like one of their first
That was
games
the
they
first
pushed.
one. That was the
Yeah,
first one. Yeah, that one did get some push too. I do remember that.
yeah. Um, but besides that, all I saw was Mage Seeker on my Twitter feed. I didn't see any kind of other advertisements for it. I didn't see Convergence. I didn't see any advertising for Convergence at all. Uh, Song of Nunu, it got a little push on the Nintendo Direct, and then that was it. And then it got delayed. They didn't even tell anybody it was delayed. They didn't put any. Riot has a lot of money. I don't want anybody to get that confused. Okay, I
I was
understand
gonna
they
get
did what
into
they.
that. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna get into that. Yeah.
they have a lot of money. So where were the marketing campaigns behind Riot Forge?
Mm.
They depended too much on their community, which a lot of the community people did buy the game. But I talked to people like I have a friend named Jason who plays League of Legends, and then there's another. I mean, Snowy. We know Salty rather. We know Salty. Uh, like he didn't play none of those games. He's into League of Legends. He's
Yeah.
like, I didn't even know these games came out. You see what I'm saying? Like
Well,
you're
they didn't
in
put
League.
anything in the League client, did they? For any of them?
No, I mean I think they did for Mage Seeker, and I think they did for Song of Nunu. I didn't see anything for Blade for the Rune King. I didn't see
Mm.
anything. I think they did actually. You know what? For 1 week they did for Rune King. And then for 1 week they did for Mage Seeker. I didn't see anything
Yeah.
for Song of Nunu. I'm sorry, nothing for
Yeah.
Song of Nunu at all. Nothing for Convergence at all. Nothing for the Bando, not Bando Tail, but the other game with Ziggs. I didn't see anything for that. I didn't know about these games until I actually went out and searched them, like Riot Forge games,
Yeah.
and that sucks. They put nothing behind these games, in my opinion. No marketing, no strategies or anything, no rollouts or nothing. And then they just expected them to work. So for him to say, "Oh, we took a gamble on this," I don't think you took a big enough bet on it to shut down Riot Forge. I think is probably going to be one of their greatest mistakes they've ever done. Like I'm surprised they didn't even shut down Project L. I think Project L has too much anticipation for them to shut it down. Or yeah, Project L to shut down. Um, to shut it down. And then there was another game, I think it was called Project F.
The fighting game.
No, I think Project L is the fighting game.
Okay.
It's another
Yeah.
game
So is
called
that
Project.
dead though? I guess with this.
No, that's still alive. Thank God.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, they had another game called Project F that was an ARPG. We don't even know if that's coming out anymore.
Oh, I remember that one. Oh yeah, I was actually excited about that, dude. Yeah, I remember that one. I hope that I hope that's still happening.
And then
Like I think a
and
League ARPG would be fucking dope.
it would.
Actually, dude. Yeah.
And we were all talking about the Riot MMO that's supposed to be coming out as well.
I
Like
think
will
that one's probably still happening.
yeah, that
I would
I can
imagine.
see that one still happening. But like, yeah, we don't know what's happening with these games. But the games that did come out, the only one they have been pushing hard, in my opinion, is Project L, which is the fighting game.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't see them push none of the other games like that, and it
Yeah.
sucks because a lot of those games were really good.
Yeah.
Um, and now that studio's closed, and now we're not going to get any more stories out of the Runeterra series, out of Runeterra, which is the League of Legends world. We're not going to get any stories out of that. So that's why I'm mad about this, and a lot of other people are mad about it because I was even reading the comments of diehard League fans saying, "I didn't even know this game came out. Wow, this game looks really cool. They're dropping this game. I didn't even know it came
Mm-hmm.
out."
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, to me, that speaks to bad marketing. It's like you're not Blizzard, bro. I mean, even Blizzard puts marketing behind their fucking games. You have to do that. Like, I'm sorry. There needs to be a
Mm-hmm.
marketing budget. I mean, as much as we talk about bloated budgets and everything like that, you have to put at least $1 million into the budget, man, for marketing. Like,
Well, and
I don't.
I mean, I think, yeah, no, I mean, you're totally right, dude. Like, I think they just kind of, they're like, this is like Blizzard. They they think they're so big that everybody just thinks like follows their shit or knows what they're doing, and
Yeah,
that's
that's
not the
not
case at
it.
all.
I think they let Wild Rift get to their heads because it's on Xbox. You can play it on consoles and stuff like that. And a lot of people are playing Wild Rift. Um, and they thought that was okay for them to be like, all right, so people know about us now that are not on PC. No, but the majority of people do not know you. I'm sorry. The PC crowd, yes, we know you. A lot of people also know you just because League of Legends is toxic, and people tell you not to play League of Legends. You know, I would tell you not to play League of Legends or whatever the case may be.
Don't play
Uh,
League of Legends.
yeah, don't play League of Legends. But that's what you're known for. So I just feel like their head was puffed up, like you said, the Blizzard effect or whatever the case may be. and now they flew too close to the sun, and now their developers are suffering for it. So this is like the opposite for me. How I feel with Blizzard, I feel like the leadership failed the developers
Yeah.
immensely, and
Yeah.
the developers turned out products, really quality products, and you didn't give those products a shine, and you just went off, reputation alone. What was you expecting? Like, I don't know. I wasn't even expecting Mage Seeker. Like, I don't know. I don't know what they were expecting, man. I just don't. I don't understand what they were expecting. Like, they didn't push their games hard enough, and this
Mhm.
really sucks. That's why when I read it and I got to the Riot Forge part, I thought they were going to close like half the division down. I'm like, okay, they're still going to leave some people there. They're closing the entire thing down, and I was very upset about that. Pissed, actually. That ruined my day.
Yeah. Well, so I guess do you think though that this is an indicator that, I mean, maybe this is reading into this too much, but do you think this is an indicator that maybe League is underperforming?
Yes and no. I think. I mean, we see all the changes that they're doing. They're going back to like the kind of like the old ways of League now
Yeah.
and everything of that nature. I think it was too much change and too fast. In the last 4 years, they implemented all these changes, um, as far as like the items and everything of that nature. And a lot of people left. I mean, I left for 6 months. Like that's huge for like a league player to leave
Mhm.
the game for like
Yeah.
6 months. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people
Yeah.
left. And now I just came back, but it's just like I'm not into it as much as I used to be now anymore. And I maybe you're right. Maybe they are underperforming. Um, Valorant's not performing up to standard. It did take
Yeah.
the CS:GO crowd for a minute, but then CS:GO 2 came out and they're
Yep,
gone.
GG, you
Yeah.
gone. Yep,
Yep.
nope, definitely. They had no shot when that happened, dude. I was like, yeah. Well, so I guess this is my question for you though, as somebody so into Riot. Like, do you think Valorant, TFT, Wild Rift, like, do you think, and Legends of Runeterra actually, which they did talk about, that game is getting significantly cut.
Yeah, I
Also,
mean, I didn't play that game, so I mean, what did you think about the game? Did you think it
I think
deserved to be
that,
cut?
so they announced that they're reducing the size of the team and shifting our focus to the Path of Champions PvE game mode, which is the thing that I gravitated towards when I played that game. I was really into that for a while, for a few
Yeah,
months.
they did say
Um,
80% of the fan base who plays that game specifically, they play the Path of
yeah, it's because
Champions.
card games suck. Like, dude, like I'm sorry, I play Magic, right, and I play with a friend group, but we play Commander, which is a 4 player multiplayer format where all 4 players are playing against each other in like a free-for-all format. It's not a 1v1. 1v1 card games suck. There's so much pressure. Like, you just don't feel, it doesn't feel fun. Like, you're like like, especially for somebody like me, I'm super analytical in these kind of competitive games, like tactical type things. And card games are very tactical in the way you like play, what cards you play, when you play them, what your opponent is doing, the way your opponent just does things. Like, they're like, that stuff all matters in terms of whether you're going to win or lose the game or not, generally speaking. And it's like really high stress. We talk about League being high stress, but like, to me, that's even more high stress for me. And I don't
Yeah.
like the 1v1 format, and I think a lot of people feel the same way, because Magic the Gathering has had this like explosion. Commander is the format, dude. That is what everybody wants to play nowadays. And I think it's for that reason, because it's just not as fun when it's a 1v1. Like, it feels very personal, even though it might not be, or it doesn't have to be. It
Mhm.
just feels that way though. Like, when you play a card and you like, fucking slam somebody down in a game, like, it's hard to like separate that. So I think that happened with Legends of Runeterra when they introduced the PvE mode. The PvE mode is actually really good in that game and really fun. And I'm glad they're not totally shutting the game down, and they're going to try to continue to focus on that mode, because I do think there's a strong game there. And ultimately, like, I wouldn't want to see the game go away, I guess is what I'm saying. But my question to you is going to be, though, these 4 games, like Valorant, TFT, Wild Rift, Legends of Runeterra, do you think these things are a waste of time? Like, do you think they're wasting a lot of development time on this stuff, and they should be focusing on League and some of this other stuff, like the MMO, ARPG type thing, the fighting game, like things kind of outside of these spheres? Because to me, like, TFT, it's cute and all, but like, dude, like, like why? Like I don't even like why does this even fucking exist? You know, I'm sure there's tons of people who enjoy it. Obviously, there must be that they have such a focus on it, but it's just like I don't know. It's just like it seems like a lot of effort for something that they could be putting into, you know, I don't know,
I think
other things that could be bigger and more robust for them, I guess.
what they should have done, um, they should have. People have been asking for more modes and stuff like that. They want more modes back and everything like that for League of Legends.
Yeah.
Um, and I think ultimately what people actually want is more games inside of the League of Legends world or Runeterra. And I think that's why those games are doing well. Like I think that's why Legends of Runeterra is doing so well.
Yeah.
Specifically the PVE mode because you get to learn more about the
Mhm.
champions, the lands they're in, and everything of that nature. Like these are very unique champions and lands they're coming from, and people want to learn more about these champions.
Yeah.
Um, I think like Valorant, I think is a really cool idea. Like I like the idea of a team shooter CS:GO type deal. Um, Actually, I think I prefer that style over the regular CS:GO. I know that's probably blasphemous for like CS:GO players right now, but like I do. I played Valorant and I actually like the team or the hero shooter aspect of Valorant, where it's like you're not it's still your skill as a shooter, but you have like your certain heroes that do certain things or whatever the case may be. And it doesn't impact the game to that much as like a Overwatch or whatever. It's still you still
Mhm.
need skill. So I think Valor is a good choice. The problem I have, Wild Rift. I think League waited too long to get into the mobile space. So because it came out on mobile before it went to console, and or maybe it was the other way around.
They definitely
Uh,
waited too long. I mean, what
they
has this been
definitely
out for? 2 years? Like,
Yeah. And there how many clones of like League of Legends have been on mobile? Like they just waited way too fucking long.
yeah.
The Chinese knockoff market has like oversaturated that playing sphere already. And now I don't even think people play MOBAs on phones anymore. I think it's exclusively now back to PC again. Because there's just so many other things you can do on mobile now. Um so they waited too late to get on that stratosphere. Another thing I think a mark they missed is they should have actually incorporated the Riot Forge games in the client itself, in the Riot client. So when I launch
Mm.
my game, it'll be like, "Hey, do you want to launch these other 8 games or whatever the case may be?" And I'll be like, what are those other 8 games? I don't even know what those fucking 8 games are." And then that can introduce your player base to those games. So I think they
Mm.
failed on multiple fronts here. I think that's why they're so nice with the layoff because they know they failed on multiple fronts. There's
Mm.
multiple things they could have done
Mhm.
besides laying off people. But now I think it's a little bit too late. Like
Well, it's too late.
legitimately,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
it's legitimately a little too late to try to save it. And now they have to fire or lay off people. Um, it was just it's just so many avenues they could have took with their games and everything of that nature. They could have actually invested in maybe one higher quality studio. Not to say okay, I'm sorry, not higher quality. I would say one triple A studio to develop a triple A game or even a double A game. They could have partnered with Xbox to get Ninja Theory to make some kind of Yasuo or Yone game or fucking
Mhm.
Zed game or something. They could have done any of these things um because they had time in my opinion. I think they were partnered with Xbox for like 4 years, I think, maybe 3 years. They could have got a double A studio from Xbox or something like that in nature or a triple A studio to make some type of game and they didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the one thing I wanted to say is I think the games they were making, all of them.
We're so
I mean, I
niche.
haven't seen all of them, but they have a very indie feel to them. Which,
Yeah, that was their
again, not
goal, but it was
not gonna
still
say
niche. Yeah.
right, not a negative, but yeah, right. Niche is the thing. They didn't. There should have been one game that was big, like a triple A
Hmm.
big game, you know, and they didn't do that, you know,
I just feel like they
because
were
I
too
I think if
scared.
you had done that, you would have gotten people into the interested in League of Legends, maybe not playing League, but that might have gotten people to look around and like, oh, what other games has Riot made in this universe, and then that might have helped trickle down to the rest of these games, you know. Um, but no, I mean, I totally agree with you with that with this, man. Like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, what's funny is when they did put all their eggs in one basket, or not one basket, but they put a lot of eggs in a basket, which is Arcane, it paid off. People who didn't even play League of Legends, people calling me and be like, "Hey, you play League of Legends, right? That's that Arcane show." And I'm like, "Yeah." Oh man, I should play with you. No, don't play with me. I don't. I will probably cuss you out. Don't fucking play with me. Play on your own, and then we can fight. But still,
Yeah.
like it got people interested in League of Legends or Legends of Runeterra or whatever the case may be, TFT or whatever the case may be. Um, and that's because they put all their eggs in one basket and made a quality product. And not to say once again that these indie games, because these indie games are quality products, but there are indie games. I don't know if they're expecting like an Undertale type situation to where like it just goes through word of mouth. That rarely happens anymore.
Yeah.
Because there are just so many
That's
indie games now. And I agree with you what you said. They should have put all their eggs in one basket for one game, for one AAA game, with probably one of their most stylish or popular characters. I mean, every time someone plays, like every time some edgy guy plays or whatever, either they gravitate towards two people, Yasuo or Lux. If you're like more on the feminine side, they gravitate towards Lux. Those are two games you could have made with those two characters. Lux is your most popular character. I don't understand for the hell of me why they don't have a Lux video game.
yeah.
Where's that?
Yeah.
Yaosu is probably your second most popular character. I'm not too sure. Maybe it's Annie, but like, as far as like stylized and everything like that, Yaosu or probably Zed or something like that, right? Where are those video games at, right? I was actually thoroughly shocked when they made a Silas video game because I'm like, he's such a niche character
Mm.
to me.
Yeah.
Uh, so his mechanic is really cool to make a video game around. Like you can still alts and everything, but
Yeah.
like, um, I was surprised. You know what I'm saying? So I,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's just my take on it.
No, yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah, I mean, as much as like it is the way they're doing this is very, um, it's as good as it's gonna be, I guess. Like for a layoff, they're giving their severance and all these benefits that they're still enabling for these folks, but at the same time, like this was preventable, And to your point, like if they had made better decisions as a company, they wouldn't have had to get here ultimately. And I mean, to be fair to this guy, he wasn't the CEO when a lot of these decisions were made.
Mhm.
So it's not really on him per se, but um, you know, still, we'll see what his vision looks like, I guess, for Riot moving forward. But yeah, I mean, I would hope the MMO is not affected by this because I'm pretty sure that's being made internal, right? As far
Yeah.
as we know.
Yep.
Yeah, so I would still expect that one to come, and I think the fighting game's internal too, isn't it?
It is. Yep.
Yeah, and I think if that ARPG was a thing, that was another one that might have been internal as well. So, if that's the case, then those games are probably still percolating, I would imagine. But, um, we'll see though if they make it, if they come out. So, yeah. All right, Montreal, let's move on. We still got a couple more stories to talk about, and one of them is another big one. So Palworld, this was the Pokemon with guns game, everybody. So, this game came out last week and had an incredible weekend. This game has fucking exploded. It sold 5 million copies in its first 3 days of sales, and that is insanely successful for any game.
I think it has 2
um,
million downloads on Game Pass because they said 7 million Power World players are
yeah,
playing.
yeah, and it had a peak concurrent of it is in second place. It got up to almost 1.3 million online at the same time. So this game was hitting off last week, but there's a lot coming with this though. So this game is hyper successful. However, there's been a lot of conversation around the game, accusations that they have stolen assets or stolen designs from Pokemon, and a lot of discussion around this. I don't really know how you want to start this conversation, Montreal. Do you want to kind of focus on the Power World success? Do you want to talk about more the
I
controversy? I don't.
I think it's all encompassing to be honest with you.
It's kind of hard. Yeah,
Um
it's kind of hard to
yeah.
separate. Yeah.
Um First of all, this game has been announced 3 year. I think it was in 3 or 4 years of development. It was announced like 3 years
And
ago.
we
Me and
talked
you,
about it on this
and
show.
we talked about it on the show.
Yep.
Um, so I say that because I think that's a very important key point. Um, the game always looked like Pokemon with guns. Me and you said it, and um, they showed gameplay back then, but we didn't know if it was a survival game or whatever. Now we know it's like a survival base building game type deal, almost akin to like Ark.
Yeah.
So that being said, I mean, plenty of games take inspiration from Pokemon as far as the monster taming genre. Um, they just took the more stylized approach. It does look
Mhm.
more like Pokemon. I mean, we have like Digimon. We have, I even say Dragon Quest is almost Pokemon esque with all the monsters you can quote unquote catch in that game. Um, uh, and then other Yokai Watch and things of that nature, right? So we
Temtem.
have these and Tim exactly. That's another perfect example.
Nexamon. There's another
Next
one.
one, yep. So we have these games that are out there already. Um, uh, I think it's just weird because the game is wildly successful. I think that's why people are going after it now because like all
Yeah.
these other games that we mentioned, right? They all have their niche market.
Mhm.
Um, but this one is like super successful or whatever. And the Pokemon, I mean the artists did say they were inspired by Pokemon. Some of the artists did make up fake Pokemon, like they're you know how you do fan art and stuff like that. They
Yeah.
did do fan art for fake Pokemon that they made up themselves or whatever the case may be in the Pokemon art style. Um, that being said, I don't think this is copyright. I think it's like a play, not even a playful copy. I think it's just like a heavily inspired,
It's
Pokemon
a
game.
riff. It's a riff.
Yeah, it's a
Like it's
riff.
a riff on Pokemon.
Yeah,
And it
and
almost yeah.
I mean, we watched the video. Somebody put in the video. I mean, Japan doesn't have copyright. I mean, they don't have fair use laws. So this is technically copy. I guess it could be copywriting a copyright claim in Japan or whatever. But like we said before, this game was made 3 or 4 years ago, or started production 3 or 4 years ago. We all know, if you've been following this podcast, you know Nintendo will shut you down the moment it sniffs your project. Moment Kotaku
Well,
puts your project on,
yeah. Mhm.
your project is getting shut down. Like,
I will
Pokemon
say on that
Uranium.
point though, somebody brought this up and I thought it was actually a really good point, is that Nintendo tends to let these things come out before they shut them down.
Mm,
Because Pokemon Uranium was like that. The Samus fan game was like that. They didn't shut it down until it was out, you know.
yeah, that's
So
true. Okay.
which was an interesting point, which kind of lends credence to a little bit of what DJ was saying to us, somewhat. But a little
But
more context. Go ahead.
they have shut down projects before,
Yeah, yeah.
um they've even come out. So I I don't know. I think it's I to me personally, I think it's a bunch of Pokemon fans who are trying to defend their $1 billion company. That's what I personally think.
That wouldn't
Um
surprise me at all.
uh and I think this is also a shot at Pokemon that they need to evolve. Ironically, right? They need to evolve the franchise to do other things. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. What you
Yeah, I
think?
mean, when that's what we talked about, like in text, when the game was first, like when we first saw the story about the success of it, is that it's pretty clear that, I mean, this has got to be such a shot across the bow at Pokemon Company and Nintendo that, look, guys, people are clamoring for something different from Pokemon. Anything, fucking anything, bro. And it's like, this is literally Pokemon with guns. This is the most meme worthy fucking video game out there, and this game exploded. So it's like if this can do this, like Pokemon could probably multiply this by 10 if they did something like this. I'm not saying with the guns part, but like some of the mechanics or just exploring different genres and
Yeah, I
like
mean,
actually
imagine making your
making.
own town and stuff like that. That would be
Yeah,
fucking
man.
cool. Yeah,
Or
your
yeah,
own
like a
gym.
fucking Pokemon Rancher game where you're like you build a farm and you have your fucking Pokemon that you like take care of on it and shit like that. Like God, like I don't like. There's so many ideas, and it's like
Exactly. It's so
why
frustrating.
that dude, it's like why is it so like why don't they even try? I obviously there's the there's like the mystery dungeon games. They've done all sorts of games in Pokemon, obviously. But I think what we're getting at is like even with the mainline games have just not changed enough, and then when they try to change it with like Scarlet Violet, it's like a fucking dog shit technical mess. It's just they're not up to snuff. They're like Blizzard to me as well. They're a company living off of brand power. I don't think their games for a long time now deserve the performance that they get in terms of how good they are.
Mhm.
It's kind of my opinion on them at this point. But to get more context on the Palworld stuff, though, so the accusations that they were kind of stealing designs from Pokemon have been floating around. Tons of discussion on this, but there was a specific Twitter user. Their name is Biofrog on Twitter. And this person was the one I feel like that really was the catalyst that exploded this whole discussion. So they took models from Palworld and put them basically overlaid them on top of models from Pokemon, and kind of moved them around in video format inside of a kind of a design tool, and kind of showed the proportions of them and was like trying to indicate or show that the models were super similar between certain pals and Pokemon. And this kind of exploded the whole thing. To me, that's like when I saw this, that's what I noticed, that the discussion kind of ratcheted up for sure. And I think this person really stirred up a hornet's nest. And I don't know, like when I looked through this stuff, I felt like I just felt like their process wasn't like super refined. This is just like some guy going out there and trying to do some investigative work with no like background or anything like that. And they admitted that they got the models for Pokemon off of a site. Like they didn't take it from the game directly. So the models they're using for the Pokemon could have been altered. They might not be the exact models. Like we don't really know that. The Palworld models were taken from the game files. So those are the legit files there. And they also, and this part, I don't know, is your mileage is going to vary on whether you care about this or not, but they did scale the models to make them similar proportions in order to make the comparison between the two. And to me, I just thought like watching these videos, like I just felt like the evidence here was like questionable. And people are taking this as like, oh my God, this is definitive proof that they stole Pokemon models. And I just don't see that whatsoever, in my opinion, personally. Like I think they're heavily inspired, I guess is what I will say. And no offense to Nintendo, but they don't own the idea of, Pokemon monster, like type Pokemon type concepts. Like they all exist. There's tons of them. We just named a shitload of them, you know? So I don't, I mean, obviously there are some of the Palworld creatures that are really questionable. There's like the little
Yeah.
blue
Yeah.
penguin one that basically just looks like Piplup with like a frill, you know. And then there's like the fat Electabuzz one, So there are some that definitely are questionable, certainly questionable, I would say. But I don't know if there's anything definitive that Nintendo's really going to be able to prove. And I feel like if we would have heard something, some kind of lawsuit, we would have heard about it by now already. Like, dude, it's been a week. We've got nothing. Nothing's happened. Actually, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company released a statement on this, which I found to be very strange. But hold on, let me pull. Let me pull it
Yeah,
up.
I need you to read it because it was strange to me too.
Yeah. Let's see. Here we go. This statement. Let me get the actual statement. So quote, inquiries regarding other companies' games. Okay. We have received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. So they don't even name the game. We have not granted any permission for use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon in its world and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. The Pokemon Company. End quote. I mean, like, why did they even acknowledge this? I don't.
It was a bunch. It was a huge nothing burger, as my
I to me, this is a company that's scared, dude. Like that's how I take it. They're like, I don't know, like they just feel like they're on the back foot. That's what it feels like to me.
it feels like
Personally,
they know they can't do anything. In my
yeah,
opinion, I feel like they looked at the evidence already. You know their lawyers are on it the first day this game dropped. You know their lawyers are on it.
they were all over it.
Yeah, you know
The
it, man.
models are in the game files, dude. You install the game, you can get the models. You know they've been looking at them all week, dude.
Yeah, you
Like
know it, man.
100%.
And, and like someone said, you can't own the idea of a stylized wolf or
Yeah,
shapes or
right.
something of that nature. You can't do that unless you
You own
buy those.
Pikachu. You own Pikachu. If they put
Exactly.
Pikachu in your game, that's infringement. But like, because they
Exactly.
DMCA'd a mod that put Pokemon in the game instantly because that's open shut. Like that's obvious. That's what it is. But yeah, you don't own the idea of a yellow mouse that shoots electricity out of itself. Like that's not what you own, you know? And it's like,
Exactly.
I think that's what people are getting really wrapped up in is like, yeah, the fat Electabuzz looks like Electabuzz, but it's not Electabuzz. Like, you know,
Exactly.
it's, I don't know. It's like that is a key component to copyright. You don't own every
You,
fucking electric looking
you
fucking
know what
monkey
this reminds
creature,
me
you know?
of? So my thing is this, right? If we're gonna have this conversation,
Yep.
then DC should be able to go after Invincible. Because you
Mhm.
remember on the first episodes, couple episodes of Invincible, they had their version of the Justice League. They had their
Yeah.
version of Batman, their version
Yeah.
of Aquaman. You know,
Absolutely.
they had their version of Wonder Woman. Like
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
even the boys, right? They had their version of Wonder Woman. They had their version of Superman. Like,
Superman. Yeah.
yeah.
100%.
So should we go after these companies too?
Or
You see what I'm saying?
Kick
Like
Ass had their version of Batman. Like, yeah, dude, it's endless.
exactly. Like you can't. Do you own the idea? Does DC own the idea of a Cape Crusader who's dark and mysterious and use the shadows to kick ass at night? I
No.
mean, no, he doesn't. I'm sorry. They don't own that concept. They own Batman. If someone uses Batman, then they can sue. If they don't use Batman, then they can't sue. If they use Owlman, I mean, okay, like maybe. I mean, Owlman, I think it's still DC. But I mean, like, I'm just using an example. Like,
It is.
if they, yeah,
Yeah.
Owlman is still DC. But if they use I don't fucking know, some kind of other bird or whatever the fuck, like, or a mammal that flies, they can't. And it's the same concept of darkness, mysterious or whatever, but it's fucking flying squirrel man or whatever. It's like
Mhm.
you can't say that's Batman and Sue. Like, oh, this is the exact same. No, it's not. It's actually flying squirrel man. Like this is why people can get away with, instead of having Lucky Charms, it's like Lucky Marshmallows or whatever the fuck,
Yeah.
Frosted Flakes, or it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
flakes that's
absolutely. Dude,
frosted.
yeah. That's such a good point. Like, how many knockoff, like, Frosted Flakes brands are there? Or, yeah, fucking Lucky Charms or Cheerios or whatever the fuck, you know? It's like, there's a fucking, like, they're called, like, Circle Oats, you know? It's like,
Exactly.
yeah, yep.
So
ODOs, you know? It's like, fucking, like, they're not suing them for that shit, you know? Uh,
So I mean, if that's how I looked at this whole thing, and people are like, "Oh, it's disgusting." It's like, bro, it's knockoffs. Like, I'm
it's
sorry,
all,
guys,
they're
it's
everywhere.
knockoffs.
Like, yeah.
Like,
No, and that was the line for me. The delineation of whether this was actually a story or not was if they actually stole assets, you know?
yeah,
Like if they
and
did that and they built their assets off of Nintendo's, that is illegal.
people
Like that would be a
people
problem.
have been
But
people have been data mining this game for an entire week,
yeah,
and no one has come up with proof yet.
no. Right.
This game sold 7 or 6 million or 5 million copies, and 2 million of it is off Game Pass. You telling me no one found anything
Mhm.
at all? You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any. And I'm not even. I don't plan on. I might play the game. But I'm not like a Palworld fucking aficionado. Like I was just looking forward to the game. I don't even fucking care about this game, bro. I'm just looking at the concept of it, and I'm just like, I don't know why people are tripping out over it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I think it's, dude. I think you're totally right. I think the impetus of it is butthurt Pokemon fans, like these people who are thralls to billion-dollar corporations for whatever fucking reason, are like, they're butthurt that a game has come out and is challenging Pokemon's crown, and it's like, dude, I don't know. We've been arguing this for years on this podcast that like Pokemon has left themselves open to this. Like they have no one to blame but themselves.
Yeah,
They really don't, you know?
yeah. Somebody literally took the Thanos meme of fine, I'll do it myself, and they did it themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like
Is
I
this
don't
game
understand.
even good? I don't even know. Like that's the thing about it too.
It's literally a survival
Yeah.
rancher style art game. It's art. It's literally art, bro. Like I'm
Yeah.
not even joking
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
It's art with Pokemon or with fake Pokemon.
Yeah. Well,
That's
dude,
it.
you know what? You bring that up too. The guy, Biofrog, that I mentioned that was doing the comparisons, like he had such a clear, obvious like agenda against this game. He literally posts on Twitter like, "I'm doing this because I want this game to fail because it's a fucking animal slavery, you know,
What the fuck do you do in
promoter or
Pokemon?
something like
Isn't
that."
his
Yeah,
isn't his profile pic a Pokemon?
I think so. Hold on,
What
let me go to his Twitter.
you literally dogfight Pokemon
Yeah,
for money.
yeah.
So
I don't
where's
know,
your
dude.
campaign? Where's your campaign against Pokemon? Like you're literally doing dog fighting or cockfighting or any type of fighting, and you're the trainer exchanges money. Who loses at the end of the fight? What is
Hmm.
that?
Yeah.
I don't understand. What? Okay,
Yeah, but
all right.
so when he said that, I just like stopped taking this dude seriously. Like clearly, yeah, here's the tweet. I found it. Yeah, I am doing this because I think it's disgusting how much Palworld glorifies animal abuse. It's like
All right, man.
okay, then you're not coming at this from like any objective standpoint at all. You're like, you have
So
a vendetta against the game. Like, you know?
and then here's my gripe against like this. It was developers coming out, and this is one guy I
They're
used to
still
follow.
doing it, dude. They're still doing it. They're still doing it.
It's this one developer I used to follow. He has like a Bulbasaur, but in like a Monster Hunter logo.
Yeah.
Forgot his name.
Yeah.
But he has some like lukewarm takes that I had that I didn't agree with, and like he's going against the game. I'm like he's like kind of mid on the game, but it was just like I don't understand what y'all want. Like, what do y'all want from this game? Like, are we gonna Agumon in Digimon clearly looks like Charmander, clearly. Like,
Yeah.
are we gonna go after fucking whoever owns? I think Namco
And that
owns
came
them.
out right after. I
Yeah.
mean, that's been around for 25 years, you know?
So I don't understand where we're going with this. Like, first of all, like if it was AI generated, then I'm like 100% against this game. I don't believe any kind of AI game should be like this successful. I actually did not like that take from Osmongold on this aspect. I think that was a
Mm-hmm.
really dumb take. That's just my opinion. I know people will probably disagree
I
with me
have
because of
not watched
Asmongold.
him talk about it.
Yeah, he was just saying like, yeah, I don't care if it's AI generated or not, or blah 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 blah. I'm going to buy it and play it because it's fun. And it's like AI generation is known from stealing from artists, so I
Mm-hmm.
can't really support that. If there is a way to get AI to create something new off its own idea, then cool. But like AI is primarily off of the backs of other artists. Um, so when DJ said that, that's why I kind of fell back because I'm like, okay, maybe this is AI generated, but they found no evidence of AI generation um within the game models. And then I was looking at, I used to do modeling, 3D modeling, and I was looking at the topology of the game or of the one, especially that Bifrost guy when he put that in there or whatever. Um, I was like, he was like, "Oh, they retopologized it." And when you retopologize something, you're actually taking an existing model, probably that has like a million polygons or vertices or whatever the case may be, and you're retopologizing it to be less polygons. The
Mhm.
models he was comparing, the Power World models had more polygons, so it's like
Yeah.
and the way they were actually structured was completely different. Like everybody has their way of modeling. It's almost all the same, but everybody has their own little style or whatever. And that style, the ones that they were like comparing and contrasting, even before we found out it was fake, I was like,
Mhm.
this is kind of sketch. Like as far as like, I don't think these compare neck and neck. Like style wise, like art wise, yes, they look almost identical. But like stolen models. That's why I was pushing so hard against it. And I was kind of surprised that DJ didn't see it because he actually does game development. And I was kind of surprised he didn't see that. And I'm like, I don't even do game development anymore, DJ. And I can see like these are two totally different models, like all through and through. Um, and even Tori, he chimed into the group chat, and because he is actually in, he's still doing it. He works for Respawn and stuff, and he's like, I don't know why people are making a big deal out of this. I think people are they just want to complain about something. I don't see the big
Yeah.
deal. I'm going to play the game. I was like, well, if the game developer right there says he's going to play the fucking game, then I'm going to play. I don't feel bad anymore. Like I don't. So I don't know where people were going with this shit. And I actually, like I said in the chat, I'm actually interested in seeing what happens next. If anything happens, I think this is all going to die down in a week. I think next week nobody's going to be playing this game anyway. That's just my personal
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
think.
To be clear too, like if they plagiarized or stole assets or whatever, dude, then this game should be burned to the fucking ground.
Yeah, facts.
A hundred
It's
percent.
100%. Yeah,
But
I'm
like
not
I
defending
think the
that.
thing me and Montreal are stuck on is just like proof. It's like it's a lot of hearsay and just like being like, oh, this looks pretty close. It's like that's not
It's a
like
lot of Twitter users blowing smoke up their
yeah,
own ass, and
fucking armchair
eh,
bullshit, like armchair fucking lawyers and armchair developers and shit. It's like, dude, like, I mean, there are devs coming out and saying that, like, it's really difficult to get the proportions to match this closely, on some of this stuff. And okay, I take some of that a little bit seriously, but dude, until like it's actually like analyzed, really, like it's taken to court, and these things are like really pounded home. I don't know how much I need to really discuss this anymore. It's like I don't know. It's just become like a really annoying discourse on top of it. So I don't know.
and,
I don't let's
and,
yeah.
and one of my friends, Anthony, who made our jingle, or he made a good point. He said this game came out 3 years ago. Was AI even that far advanced 3 years ago? And I'm like, you're right. It wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't that far advanced 3 years ago, where they can
Mhm.
generate stuff like this. Like I think AI just got to the point where it can generate really good 3D models. But 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when this game was in development, AI generation wasn't like that. So,
Yeah.
and me and you saw the gameplay trailer uh 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have much more to say on this, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it just I don't know. It's just I think these discussions shouldn't be happening on Twitter. I think is the the answer. Like seriously, this is a very serious accusation that's being levied at this company, and I think honestly, if we're gonna talk about this, like it needs to be in a forum where evidence can actually be presented rather than just making assumptions. I don't think taking the models from both games and comparing them is like the scientific method to prove that they stole the fucking models, or copied them or anything like that. Um, so yeah. Okay, Montreal. Let's move on. So the last story I want to talk about is you were talking about AI, and I was going to jump in, but I kind of wanted to leave it for this. So to talk to you about AI. So Foam Stars had a controversy as well, with this game that Square Enix confirmed that they used AI generated art for in-game icons specifically. They did clarify it was only for icons, but people were flipping out about this one, um as well. So I don't care about foam stars really that much. I wanted to talk to you more specifically a bit about AI and its use in games, use in art in general. because we haven't really talked about that yet, and this is kind of becoming a thing that we're gonna have to start considering. So I guess I heard some of your thoughts already about like the stealing of other people's work and things like that. Um, so I'm kind of in a weird boat with this because I'm not against AI's use as a tool for game development or art creation in general if it's being used in the context of being a tool, you know. And obviously the definition of tool could be very broad, certainly, but like to me what I mean is like a tool in like Adobe, you know, like where you
Yeah,
use like the fucking crop tool or something like that. If AI can do that for you in 2 seconds, there's nothing wrong with that, right? I don't have a problem with that kind of thing. So even going in so far as to do things like fill an image or something like that, you know, like like a thumbnail for a video or something like that, or within a game, like let's say I'll even take it so far as like in a game making assets, today everything is handcrafted. You know, the bushes you see, the blades of grass, if a company used AI to make those blades of grass in the bushes, I'm not sure I have a big problem with that personally. I don't want to see the character models being made with AI, the important things that are kind of front and center to the game. But some of those like set pieces that, set dressing that no one's really paying attention to, per se, I don't necessarily have a problem. However, I will say that thought process does lead to a slippery slope with companies. I don't trust them. They're not going to, like with any technology, like we were talking about with NFTs and shit back when that was kind of the conversation of the day. I do not trust companies to use this stuff appropriately and practice discretion with it. Um, that's kind of, I guess that's kind of where I'm at with it necessarily. And the stealing of stuff online, obviously it's a little different with a computer, right? Like it's literally taking something because that's just how it works. Whereas but the thing is with art is inspired largely by others. That's how a lot of artists work or creators in general work. You kind of get inspired by something and model, like we're literally just talking about it with Palworld, right? Like they're clearly obviously inspired by Pokemon. The whole game
yeah.
is centered around that concept, so that's kind of where the conversation gets weird for me because obviously people do take things from others and modify them in their own way, but with AI it's more literal, where you're actually taking the actual image, potentially, and that is where the line probably gets drawn. So um I don't know, like how do you feel about what I just said in terms of using it as a tool to kind of like,
No, I
you know,
agree. I think AI should be used as a tool. Maybe if I'm making a hand or something like that, I can finish out the finger because it read like how I'm
yeah.
stylizing the character or something like that, and it can
Mhm.
finish out the finger for me or something, or like um, just different things. As far as like, so it said that the AI was being used to replicate voices as well.
In Foam Stars?
Oh, I thought I'm sorry. I'm reading the article. Mini voice
Well,
game.
so I know the finals did that though. They have an announcer in game that's an AI voice.
Yikes. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, which actually that game dropped off 80% of its player base. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I really don't have anything to counter with you because I always thought AI should be positioned as a tool, not as the end all be all. And I think
Like a replacement for people. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of the AI enthusiasts are losing their battles. If you can present it, because I use an AI tool at work. I mainly use it for writing emails and stuff like that. I will put it into like Grammarly uses an AI
Mm.
to kind of fix your emails, and I also have a side companion AI that's an AI. I say AI inside my Google browser at work. It was just chat GBT, and I said, "Hey, I want to make this paragraph I'm making sound more professional or more analytical or more self-reflecting or whatever." And the
Mm.
AI will take the paragraph I gave it and then make it more reflective, and then I can take that and then take some stuff out and then put some stuff in. It's still my words, but the AI just kind of improved it or changed it to where I wanted
Mm,
it to be. And I
mhm,
think that's how we should use AI. I don't think we should use AI to make art exclusively. I think we should use AI to insist in the art. Uh, uh, we can also use AI for like voice acting. I think it should be used as a tool. Um, you can there should be some kind of deal to where I can lend you my voice, my AI voice, whatever. And
mm,
however many times you use it, that's how many times I get paid, like a royalty thing or whatever the case
mm,
may be,
mhm,
or whatever. Because I think it can be used because like what that voice actor like dies, that money can still go to their family or whatever the case may be, and they can still use that voice and make plenty of money off that voice, and that money can go towards the family. It just has to be used responsibly. Obviously, we live in the real world, so a lot it's not going to be used responsibly, which is where like voice acting for AI gets really wonky. But like for art and everything like that, and for day to day tasks, I think AI should be more than happy. Should be used as a tool. Like imagine the AI, um, like level one desktop support level one person, like answering the basic questions. Hey, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do that? Okay, we're
mhm.
gonna send it to Justin so that he can do some more testing and everything like that.
We're
Or the case
exploring
may
that
be.
idea.
Oh, yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
it would suck for first level people, but it's
Well, we're not
like
let me get at that. So we're not replacing anybody with it. It's the idea is to enhance, to
yeah.
free them up to do more advanced work.
And that's how I think AI also should be pictured as well. This can free you up to free your brain to do more things. When
Right. Is it
somebody
valuable to have your artist making bushes? I don't know.
exactly,
I'd argue that's not really a valuable use of like a high level artist time, personally.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm not totally against AI. I'm against it as far as like replacing people, but like
yeah,
assisting people,
I agree.
I think that's the future. Like I would love a self driving car that's assisting me. I ain't got to fucking
Well, we gotta
drive.
get
Like
used to this idea, dude. This one is not like NFTs, bro. This isn't going away.
yeah, this isn't going away. Yeah,
This one's not going away, guys. Like we have to get comfortable with a lot of things, I think, that people are uncomfortable with right now around AI. But sorry, Macho, I think I cut you off.
no, but I mean, that's all I really had to say. Like I think um there are some scary aspects of AI, like the AI virtual girlfriend and
Mm.
all that shit. That
Oh
shit's
yeah,
scary.
dude. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's where I
Oh
mean,
my
besides
god.
the artist stealing the artist thing, right? Because we all know that
Yeah.
that's super fucked
Yeah.
and shitty. The AI girlfriend shit, that's also really fucking scary. The AI
Mhm.
boyfriend as well. Like when you start having AI companions as your um yeah, as your friend or as a replacement for love or for human interaction, then that's where I think legislation should actually go towards. I think all that shit should be illegal. We need
Mm.
humans interacting with humans. Um and this is coming from somebody that has social anxiety. So I
Mm.
understand
I agree
how
with you
bad it
though. It's
is.
scary, dude.
Yeah.
Because I think people are already have issues with. I think a lot of people right now are like shut-ins. Like they don't go outside. They don't interact with people. They just interact on the internet exclusively,
Yeah.
and that is really not healthy at all. Humans can't exist like that. So if you take that even a step further to what you're talking about with the AI stuff, and they're like they don't leave their house, they interact with these AIs, and like that's it, that's their life, and it's like, dude, oh my god, like that is, oh god, that's scary as hell, you know. But I want to take this a step further. So I heard David Jaffe talking about this on a podcast, AI, and he went so far as to say, I mean, this is a former game developer, right? Talking, creator of Twisted Metal, God of War. I mean, he's made some great games. And he said that he doesn't have an issue with AI insofar as like if it could assist him to make his story or something like that, he's okay with that, because what if he's it like in the context of enabling him to do something that he either isn't able to do on his own normally, or um doesn't want to do anymore, in his context, like creating a certain aspects of games and stories he doesn't want to do anymore. So if an AI can help bridge those gaps to get him to the point where he's actually making what he wants to make, he doesn't have a problem with that necessarily. And so meaning that, like, creating aspects of like writing the story for you, or creating characters, or maybe making some aspects of gameplay and stuff like that, like he even went that far that if like people could talk a game into existence, like speak to an AI, tell it what you want it to do, like what you want the game to be, and it makes it all for you, like he thinks that is not necessarily a bad thing. Like that gives people access that today are have a barrier, and like, because that would be interesting, like, right, for somebody like me. I've always dabbled in my head with making a game, right, but there's a lot of skills you need to get there. Like you need to learn how to code, you need to learn whatever engine you're using and all that stuff. And obviously a lot of those barriers have come down over time, but like, dude, if I could just talk to an AI and explain the concept of my game, the game I want to make, and it kind of makes it for me, and then obviously do what you were talking about, like edit it, make modifications to it, fine tune it to my specifications. Like that is an interesting concept. I don't I don't know how I feel about it right now. Like I haven't really fully processed it as an idea. But what about you, Butcher? Like presenting that to you, like how do you feel about that? Is that's going too far?
Yeah, I think that's going too far.
Okay.
Um, in my opinion, you have a lot of talented people out there. I understand, like for both of us, like we both want to make a game. We both have this desire to make a game, and but there are also people who also have that desire and they go out and pursue those skills or whatever the case may be. That's how you get, some
Yeah.
indie games and stuff like that. And I think that's a slap in the face to them. The AI has to build off of something and it's going to steal off of other people's things to make your game or to make the
Yeah.
game that
Yeah.
you need. So that's where I have an issue with it. At. Now, if you want to talk about like an AI making a design document, like you have an idea for a game and you want to make a pitch, and you like pitch it, you put your kind of idea or pitch into the AI, and it makes it kind of like a design document for you. Um, to pitch to a studio or something like that, or for you to work off of, and you can kind of edit it, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's perfectly fine. Um, I think the hardest part is making the design document, like putting your ideas on paper and then
Yeah.
like following those ideas.
Well,
Um,
well, it's difficult to put down, but B, it's fucking boring as fuck.
yeah, exactly.
Number
It is.
two. So
Yep.
yeah, no. Yeah, I think I come down a little bit closer to you, I think, than Jaffe certainly on this. Like I don't know. I think
I what is up with these developers?
shortcutting skills, like actual skills with AI, is where I think things get really scary. If you're starting to code and you don't know how to code and you're using AI to code, I mean, bro, like I mean, we're that's scary territory, man. Like you're getting into a situation where eventually, like let's say that becomes a ubiquitous thing that people do, you're getting to a point where people don't understand the underlying thing that you are creating, like you don't understand how the code works, that you're writing, or that the AI is writing for you, I guess is what I should say. And I don't think humanity should go in that direction. That's like a Wall-E type reality, I guess. To me, and I don't think that is a palatable place for humans to go. So,
I agree. I think it's you need those skills, man. Like you need those skills. I
right.
think we're even suffering even without AI. We're suffering from people who don't have basic skills in like plumbing and carpentry and everything of that nature because those skills start to die out when me and you were in high school and everybody told us
Yeah.
to go into tech and stuff like that. And now we
Yep.
have a huge demand for said products again. We need more people working construction now and everything like that because our infrastructure is failing and we need these skills and there's just not enough people out there. So if we were to do that with AI and like artistry skills, we would
Yeah.
lose those skills and that would be lost to the test of time. And I'm not feeling that. I think that's a skill that art. A lot of people don't like to say it like it's not useful. I think it's a very useful thing to have in the world to bring color into the world and everything like that nature. It's always been a part of human nature to have art.
Yeah.
Since the cavemans were drawing art on what they see and everything of that nature. Um, to have an AI kind of replicate that, I think that takes away from the humanity of
Yeah.
us. That art is human, and if you take that
Yeah.
away from us, then we're almost not human anymore, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and then like I think the other thing is we talk about on the show how games have kind of been commodified, a lot in the last like 10, 15 years, and that would be the ultimate commodification of art, or of games, is AIs creating them in an assembly line fashion, and I don't think we want art to be there, like ever, honestly. It like that just feels so destructive.
I don't,
And
I don't know. I feel like
the world would be boring, I feel like,
yeah,
too.
but have you noticed this trend of like developers having really bad takes, like older developers. Like you
Yeah.
remember
Oh yeah.
Cliff Blinsky had he had
Cliffy
really
B,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah, Cliffy B. He had really bad takes after he made Gears of War, and like now we getting
Yeah.
I forgot his name just now. Who made God of War?
Jaffe,
He's
yeah, David Jaffe.
Jaffe. Yeah, David Jaffe's having really bad takes, and it's like I
I
don't
mean,
think that's
okay, hold on, hold
exclusive to
on, hold
them.
on. I'm gonna defend Jaffe. I love Jaffe. He's a fucking psycho, dude. Like he is out of his mind, but I love
I
him.
mean, yeah, to
Like
create God of War, you have to be out of your mind. You have to be.
absolutely, man. And Twisted Metal, dude. Are you kidding me? Twisted Metal is unhinged, like completely unhinged, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful,
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I don't agree with Jaffe's takes all the time, but I will say the way he argues, like, he's not like a fucking asshole, like he's certainly, I think it's more of like he's more open-minded to things, I think. And he's not necessarily saying he wants things to go this way. He's just saying he's kind of open to the idea of it, I guess. So
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like I said, I wouldn't mind it being like an assist tool. I think if it assists you in your journey, like say if you aren't that really good at doing certain shading or certain like topology and stuff like that, it will correct that for you, and things of that nature.
yeah,
Um,
I think that's the best way to utilize it, personally.
yeah. Or if like it's like some kind of engine and you like I want to add physics to my engine and you tell it what type of physics you add, and then the engine has the AI capable of doing it, and then it just does
Yeah.
it because it's
Yeah.
within its own engine. It's not pulling from anything else. If that makes any sense.
Mhm. Fair enough. All right. Well, I don't have much more to say on that. You?
No, that's it.
Okay, cool. I did want to touch on it because it's been a kind of a conversation point recently, around the industry, obviously. But all right, Montreal. Well, that's it. That's all we have today. I mean, this was a meaty episode. So, is there anything else you want to discuss before we go today?
No, that's it. How long have we been going? Was this a 3 hour episode? It was.
Three
Holy shit.
hours and 7 minutes. Yeah, it's so. All right. Well, guys, if you liked this 3 hour and 7 minute episode, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share it with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montreal. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNet01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And honestly, we would love to hear your opinions on Palworld, the AI stuff we talked about, in this episode. So if you guys have any opinions on that, send them over to us. I'd love to hear what the audience thinks about these topics, because they're specifically the AI one is a big one. I mean, this is one we're certainly going to be contending with in the years to come. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next week. Bye.